in the chat group. But just an update here that there's an early warning radar installation near that area has been struck apparently.
So then that was what we had to kind of check to see if there's any damage. But regardless, I mean, I'm just going to go back to this aspect that we're not really seeing Iran able to really muster so far an appropriate response or even a defensive operation. And what we're seeing from the diplomatic side, I would say, is kind of this: countries in the back end just taking a step back and saying, hey, we're not involved in this. And I also believe that Iran is very cognizant that they don't want to expand this to the other countries. Because if Israel is able to kind of isolate Iran and operate freely, just imagine if you add the United States into the mix. And I think that's where Iran is like that is too much for us right now. We can't handle it. The Israelis says this. I said this in the video stream. I'll say now right before we ended. This is giving me the vibe of the 6-Day War, when Israel was able to launch a surprise attack and really decimate the Arab armies back then during the 6-Day Wars. This is giving a similar historical context and comparison. Give it back to you.
Thanks, mate. I think it's just crazy. A colleague of mine has said that Netanyahu planned this back in November. So clearly, there's been some coinciding with the US and the change in administration. What I think is interesting is to know how much the US was involved or not, because in the early hours of yesterday, sort of the US was distancing itself or saying that it had no role to play in the events. But since then, Trump has sort of, I don't know if backtrack's the right word, but shifted narrative and said, actually, it was 60 days. I gave a warning to Iran. This is day 61. And you guys, this is what you get. So, and then they obviously intercepted some of the drones coming from Iran. So it seems like the US is a bit all over, or maybe that's been all part of the play, as we said on the live stream. Someone thought that maybe this was all smoke and mirrors, Trump and Netanyahu deliberately having this bad relationship or perceived bad relationship, so that the Iranians are drawn into a false sense of security or whatever. But I think what it also illustrates, right, is just how much intelligence has been evolving. We've seen Operation Spiderweb from the Ukrainians. Some people say that they took that inspiration from the Israelis last year over the pager bombing with Hezbollah. And now the Israelis have done it again. So there's a remarkable sort of flurry of these sort of feints and, pulling the wool over people's eyes sort of thing. But James, you're sort of, following this a lot more than many. So what's your take on developments right now, and specifically on the Lebanon front and Hezbollah?
So I don't know if you saw the statement from the Lebanese state and from Hezbollah. So the Lebanese state said, like all the Arab countries and like Citrus said, they're like, this is a fight between Israel and Iran. We condemn the attack on any sovereign nation, blah blah, like the usual blah blah, and the fact that on one side they have to be like against Israel in that statement. And then following that, the statement was sent internally inside the security apparatus and through the entirety of the Lebanese structure, telling Hezbollah that you have no right or no permission to strike or to initiate any attack from the Lebanese territory. And if you do, you're gonna be subject to Lebanese authority structure. So the Hezbollah then comes out with a statement talking about being like supportive of what's happening in Iran, but said that as of now there is no retaliation or attack for this that's gonna go out from Lebanon, which shows some sort of containment on that. And now the real situation, when we talked about it with Trump yesterday for around 4 or 5 hours, as soon as it happened, it was quite a surprise in terms of size, in terms of targeting, in terms of what was targeted. And we've had a continuous strikes every 1.5 to 2 hours on Iran in different locations. So mostly big depots of weapons outside of Tehran, specific assassinations and attacks inside of Tehran, and at the end of the day, it seems to be a very calculated attack with a lot of targets. It reminds me of the first couple of weeks when Israel started after the major attack to attack Lebanon, and they went through a bank of targets, attacking constantly on a shorter distance. That's something we need to point out. So we have more and more strikes, but where you had every couple of hours, you had a list of people that were killed, and targets that were being hit. The main point, based on what I'm saying, is not forced regime change by killing the leadership. It's forced regime change by imposing enough of a pressure on the hardliners and on the people that are very close to the IRGC to lead to either the reform.
But James, if I can just expand on your point with a question, right? So one of the things that's coming to mind for me quite evidently is just whether or not you agree with this from a moral perspective or Israel's actions in Gaza. Just purely from a military standpoint, this is a very clean and effective intervention, isn't it? And sort of what? So you're saying this isn't about regime change, or it is, but what? Are you suggesting that they're trying to stimulate sort of on the ground, you know, like we saw with Massamini sort of thing, for people to be more confident to try and overthrow the regime from the bottom up, so to speak?
They want to weaken the regime. They want to weaken the structure enough in order for something to happen on the ground. Whenever you attack a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 leadership, you are technically destroying the knowledge, the know-how, and the way those people work to control the country or to control what's happening. And right now, that's what we see. Like, we see an actual destruction of the model, and Khamenei, instead of focusing on retaliation and attacking the Israeli territory, is focusing on finding a replacement for his entire tier 1 leadership. So in terms, the main focus is that they can put pressure. If they can put pressure like this for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, you will reach a position where tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in the organizations are done, and you have people that are not as qualified and are complete unknowns in power, which would lead to more divergent views, and more divergent views would lead to more instability on the ground, allowing for I don't know if it's the monarchists, I don't know if it's the reformers internally inside of Iran, but someone to take over and change a bit the model, to distance themselves from what's happening right now and what has been happening for the last 15 to 20 years in terms of
I'm gonna restart the live.
expansionist project of Iran in the region.
Absolutely, mate. And I think this also comes at a time, you know, Israel's been under pressure. Well, maybe they don't feel it, but the West, European states are obviously making noises about operations elsewhere. So in this regard, it's going to be interesting to see how other capitals respond, or what they say about Israel's activity there. Voice, I know you put your hand up, so what did you want to add in?
Before I add in, just some breaking news from Israeli media channel 12. They're reporting there is an attack on Isfahan right now as well. So you might want to add that to your list. I disagree with my colleague James here regarding the elimination of the IRGC leadership in order to some sort of an encouragement, rather small or big, of a regime change. I think this is not on Israel's or America's agenda right now, simply because of the fact that Reza Pahlavi is not in Iran, and it will create a massive void that no one can estimate in time. So as long as there is not a replacement in line, it would be very hard for us to even talk about a regime change right now. But what is interesting is that if you look at who they eliminated, it's mostly commanders of the IRGC Air Force. And this is, of course, more with the intention to cause destruction in the chain of command when it comes to launching ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, launching of the drones. This is the aim of it, and you can see it on the ground. You can see there is not some sort of a fluid action by the Iranian regime on the ground when it comes to launching those. And I think we saw a very interesting example for that today, that I can go into details with the drones that got launched from Iranian territory. I can get into that if you want, Kitover, but it will take a couple of minutes, so it's up to you as the co-host of the space.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can do. We might have to jump in with breaking news such as this, which is that an explosion has been heard near Tehran's Mehrabad airport, according to Iran International English. So again, quite sort of, I don't know if sporadic is the right word, but you know, random locations you targeted. Mario had an interesting question, which was sort of why haven't some of the larger nuclear facilities in the east been hit? And it seems to be Israel has a very particular approach to this. Clearly this is a decision that has multiple rounds. Whether or not this on what continues into the night or continues over the weekend remains to be seen. But depending upon how much the Israelis feel that they've crippled or can cripple the Iranians further, they've got a very clear blueprint of what they want to achieve. And I reiterate sort of my point before, which is that this is quite a exceptional illustration of military efficiency or precision. So yeah, we're also trying to get some more speakers to join us. One friend of ours, Amir, is in Iran and he keeps trying to join, but clearly it's obviously being affected by events at the moment. But Amir, if you can find a stable Wi-Fi, we'd love to hear from you. Voice, go for it.
Yeah, Peter, one thing I also said in Mario's live stream was that we have to remember that the really sensitive nuclear facilities are deep underground. And this is not something you can do in one or even two strikes or in a matter of a couple of hours. The Israeli Air Force right now is first causing an initial shock, which buys it more time, which means you do quicks in and out of those facilities, then you come back to another round and you attack those facilities again. But in order to penetrate into the depth of these facilities, you will need a little bit of a different constellation. And you will need bunker busters, very heavy bunker busters, that are going into the same point dropped by different fighter jets, one after the other, just to penetrate those layers. So right now we are not seeing it because it's a little bit of a more complex operation that, as far as I know, the Israeli Air Force, they're probably leaving it a little bit toward the later point of this operation.
Let me ask you on that point though.
Sure.
Do you think that the Americans could get involved? Clearly, from analysis I was reading, my understanding is that the Americans would need to get more involved to provide, or upscale, if you like, Israel's capabilities in terms of these bunker buster type bombs. Is that right, or what's your assessment?
Yeah, it's fair. First of all, they don't need to get involved at this point. We're still not, as I said, in the point of pulling out B-52 or mother of all bombs or anything like that. I do not think that the United States will be involved, Peter. I really don't believe so. I'm still somehow, and it was gonna sound crazy to you, I still think that this is gonna be ending up with an agreement of some sort between the United States and Iran, even though we're seeing a completely different reality on the ground right now. So I don't think the United States will get involved. I think this is just a means of pressure, and I think you will see a deal being signed without the U.S. needing to be involved. Right now, the U.S. strongest card in front of the Iranian regime is you better sign.
We can take the opposite of that statement as being probably the truth.
And it's sort of using Israel, and not in a malicious way, but sort of using Israel as the dog that you hold on the leash, and you're threatening to take off the leash if they will refuse to sign the deal. So I think this is sort of the realpolitik that we're seeing right now.
So just one point, Guru. There is wordings that after the ballistic missile that was thrown from the Houthis, there is also warning above Iraq from cruise missiles and not cruise, but like missiles and drones going through Iraq into Israeli territory. So it seems that some sort of retaliation is ongoing. Still not enough information to qualify what it is and the impact of that attack.
I see we've got Mark requesting. I'm quite keen to hear from Mark, nuclear expert. Azim, I see you've got your hand raised as well. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, regarding your question, whether the U.S. would be involved, that is an Iranian decision right now. Iran can show up on Sunday. President Trump was very clear that we're still open to talking, obviously under very different terms at this point. But obviously, from a technical perspective, Israel will need American assets and American expertise to hit those deeply buried nuclear facilities that are deep in the mountains that requires B-2 and 30,000-pound bombs. However, the Iranian regime has the option today to open up these facilities to inspectors. And what Iran gets out of that, well, this 2 week campaign, this very painful 2 week campaign, will become a few day campaign. And the regime may survive at the end of the day. We have to remember, and I'll wrap up with this, the Iranian regime for half a century has traded prosperity, personal safety, democracy. They forced this trade on the Iranian people in exchange for protecting the people from this make-believe monster that's Israel and the United States. Now they are miserably failing in delivering on that promise, and the Iranian people protesting today and asking their government to retaliate, they will soon ask their government to, they're soon going to ask for a new government because there is no retaliation coming, not a meaningful one at least.
So, Cliff, you had the question?
Yes, well, I just wanted to add something. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, comment, basically given the President and Israel the legitimacy of the Congress to take actions. That's how I understood it. I could be wrong, but that's how I interpreted his message. So technically, if the President wants to get involved now, he has the backing of the Congress apparently. So I completely understand. We need the GBU-57s and heavy ammunition to destroy the targets. But it seems like so far the Israelis are doing fabulous. At first, there were a lot of doubts about the air refueling capabilities and stuff. The Israelis apparently they have Boeing 707s that they have modified somehow. They're using it to refuel their jets in the air, probably above Iraqi and Syrian air. So I see where the bombardment is needed, which I believe at some point is going to come soon. If the Yemenis and the militias will continue targeting Israel at the way and the rate they're doing now, I could see Israel jumping. I could see the United States jumping into the scene very, very soon. That's what I just wanted to add.
Thanks, Cliff. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what's going through Trump's head. Keep in mind that this is the chap who said he would end all the wars, and, well, we're now in a major potential one. So, yeah, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what he's planning. Abraham, of course, is his crowning achievement of foreign policy in his first term. So, you know, if they can deal a decisive blow to the Islamic Republic, which sort of, what's the word, alleviates the fear of the Arab states and such, then it may be a success. But at the moment, it's, you know, but it's still not sure to me, at least, what the Iranians can do or are willing to do. And Mark, I sort of wanted to come to you really because of your nuclear expertise. What exactly are we seeing from Israel's strikes? What have they hit? How significant is this in terms of setbacks for the Iranians to their nuclear program, but also their nuclear capabilities from an energy provision, let alone, you know, weaponry and stuff?
Hey, I want to apologize in advance. I'm exiting the airport, but I'll try to be quick here. I have not yet seen confirmed reports of damage. And by the way, I just want to say, anyone can DM me. If anybody sees a report they want to check on the veracity of or the possibility of, or even just inform me of something that you have missed, please send it to my DMs. I promise I'll see it, and I appreciate all the help. Anyway, so far what we've seen from IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, is they said they're watching, there's been no leaks, there's been no radiation, but IAEA is often not in a position to say much more than we want everybody to stop attacking nuclear facilities. Don't do it, it can be dangerous. So it kind of falls to others to sort out what the potential part is. In this case, I have not seen anything yet from official sources, and I just got off the plane saying there's been damage that could lead to radiation leakage, but I want to clarify that Natanz is not a nuclear reactor facility. I think there's been a lot of misinformation overnight with people calling it a reactor, and then some people been saying that that means that reactors in Iran have been hit. This is not the case.
Right, sorry about the background
I might
noise
just
there.
jump in quickly for some news, and we'll see if we'll share it here live during this space. But according to Fars News Agency, the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei will address the nation in a couple of minutes. So that's something to be on the lookout, and we'll try to share the highlights of that once that happens to see and what his response is and how people are. I mean, both countries are in a state of war, but Iran doesn't even acknowledge the existence of the state of Israel. So it'd be interesting.
Site rep, do you think it will be pre-recorded or would it be live?
That's an interesting question. Actually, interestingly enough, and I'll share. Again, obviously the Supreme Leader is not in this area, but it does look like that there was earlier air defense activity near the Supreme Leader's residence in Tehran. Obviously, the Supreme Leader's not there, but that's something that I wouldn't be surprised if this was pre-recorded or he is in a very secure
Well,
bunker.
keep in mind also that the guy is 85, so his health is not exactly ideal for these sorts of situations.
Yeah.
I can't see him being ferried around or making harried statements at that time. So I think it's going to be pre-recorded, but how long and what he chooses to focus on, I think, is as critical as how it's done. But yeah, Hazim, you wanted to jump in on that point?
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's definitely going to be pre-recorded. I don't think they'll risk having him exposed in any shape, way, or form, including with signal intelligence. I'm really eager to see what he's going to say about the colossal failure of his military systems. Again, we have to remind everybody that according to the idea, at least not a single surface-to-air missile was launched against at this point more than 400 sorties by the Israeli Air Force. This is failure. I mean, I guarantee you the Iranian regime did not just decide not to protect its skies. So we'll see what he's going to say, but I think, in my opinion, or my hope at least, that he will start making the case for showing up on Sunday to the negotiations.
Yeah, just getting some news there. Thanks, yeah, the Home Front Command guys basically stay near protected areas. That's what's coming from Channel 13 in Israel. So there is still a fair amount of fear about what the Iranians plan to do. I personally do think that there's going to be more coming tonight. The Iranians tend to do more in the night. Also, how many of these major escalations have we seen occurring on a Friday or a Saturday? It's insane. It's been almost every time, I think, in the Middle East at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do choose to do something. Sort of, Khamenei gives his pre-recorded address, and then they start launching. Well, actually, Steph, I'll put that to you as a question. What could the Iranians do, realistically? Missiles and mirages? What options do they have left?
That's really bad. I mean, the only thing is the ballistic missiles. Again, here's the problem that Iran has, is that although they have the largest ballistic missile program in the Middle East, not all the ballistic missiles that Iran has in their arsenal can reach Israel, right? If this was an attack against, let's say, U.S. military bases across the Middle East, oh, absolutely, right? Because you have Qatar, UAE, etc. Yeah. Those the vast majority of those short-range ballistic missiles within the arsenal of Iran can reach those targets, right? The thing about Israel is they have to use their medium-range ballistic missiles, so Israel doesn't have to be worried about a lot of these other areas, and I think that's why they're doing a lot of these targeted strikes. I mean, we've seen the concentrated strikes in Tabriz, Kermanshah. This is kind of in the western portion, and they're probably targeting those missile systems that can reach into Israel. And so that's something really important to highlight. And so, but Iran can still do it. If you look historically, at all the Iranian things and when they launch, I mean, it takes them a couple of days to do it, and that's why we're probably seeing the drone launches. But I think this is why Israel is targeting the command and control and leadership of these organizations, because they want to cause mass confusion and chaos within the IRGC ranks, and that would cause more of a delay for an Iranian response, enabling Israel, since they basically have, for all intents and purposes, airstrip priority over Iran already, enable them to continue to conduct strikes to get these assets, right? I think that's the goal of the Israelis. It was a decapitation strike, cause mass confusion within the ranks, and then leverage that confusion to then start striking more hardened structures and support networks, logistics, bases, etc., to really degrade those abilities.
So Steph, I mean, I think we've got Colonel Jeff on stage. I want to go to him. But, I would say it's quite interesting, really. They have been quite disciplined and only focusing on the military arm, right? There's no political arm, and we know the relationship of how the two work together, especially in a place like the Islamic Republic. So it's very much about the IRGC fact, not the political sort of network and such. But Jeff, what's your opinion of what you've been saying today and what now and what could happen even as early as tonight or over the weekend?
Yeah, hey, thanks for bringing me up. So I think, the lesson learned here is if you're buying Western military gear, you can project power pretty far. And if you are buying Russian gear, you're in a lot of trouble as another nation, right? Because we've now learned from Ukraine that Russian stuff wasn't really up to snuff it was still effective to a degree. Let's not say it was completely ineffective. But their export variants, things that they're giving out to other nations, were woefully inadequate. I don't think that's going too far beyond the bounds, right? Or overly dramatic. And when you have 400 sorties flying over your nation and you didn't down one airplane, that's a big deal. I do have a question. I don't know necessarily how the supreme leaders tie to the military is, right? So I don't know if he would be a target of an assassination if he's not somehow tied to the military, because you can't, as much as I understand Israel might want to do that, right? I don't think that they dabble into laws of armed conflict violations and things like that. So
he is the
okay,
leader. The same way Nasrallah was the leader of the military. But
okay, perfect. That answers that question. I didn't know. Okay, thanks.
So we've got some interesting information here that was just shared. Although to me it doesn't come as too much of a surprise, much like the Ukrainians giving backstory to the US administration, I think at least before Trump took over, about Operation Spiderweb. Netanyahu gave, warning or whatever information to the US about these strikes. Netanyahu said that Israel coordinated with the US ahead of its attack on Iran, quote unquote. He told them in advance they knew about the strike. What they will do now, I leave it to President Trump. He makes his own decisions. I will not speak for him. He speaks very persuasively and very firmly and said Iran should not have nuclear weapons. They should not have enrichment capabilities. That comes from a CNN article and demonstrates, I think, that the perceived bad relations between Trump and Netanyahu was actually all nonsense. So I don't know. I mean, I still think there was some disagreement here and there, but it's speculation. So anyway, that's the latest bit of information on the political front. Boys, go for it.
Hey, Peter. So I just got an alert to my phone from the Home Front Command Center, and they are basically asking people in certain areas. So me living close to the northern border, they asked us to be next to a bombing shelter because there is the suspicion that there will be some sort of an attack during Khamenei's speech. So right now, this is the situation on the ground. So in case there will be anything, I will try to open my mic. But if not, then you would know that I'm running.
Just to confirm, you're saying you did get indications that an attack is originating from Iran against Israel. That was the alert that was sent. Just to confirm.
Yes, they are sending it individually according to the area that you live. So they trace your phone, they know in which area you live, and then you're getting this warnings, and the alert said that it's because of the fear of an imminent attack.
Yeah, because we have images, and actually we had a speaker yesterday, so I don't know if we can get him back on to the Mario teams. Stephen Abil. He said he tweeted a video, and you're seeing moments ago, is seen over Iraqi cities in the western part, headed towards Jordan, and then obviously Israel. It just looks some contrails, could be cruise missiles, could be ballistic missiles. So that could be associated voice to what you were alluding to. But from the videos, it doesn't look like a large quantity. But we don't know how.
I just want to stick on this, Steph, for a second. Voice, like, so you're there. So, if I can ask, like, sort of, how do you feel being on the ground? Like, do you feel that the Iron Dome is well equipped to deal with any potential? I mean, it did remarkably well the first time round, but I feel like the Iranians are going to upscale it even more this time. So, like, firstly, for you, how do you feel being in the situation? If that makes sense.
Well, seeking somehow at the same time. I'm not by jets in the air and stuff like that. The Iron Dome is less what makes me feel secure. It's more like the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3, and also new laser system of ELTA.
Don't forget David Sling.
I think we lost voice. Am I the only one who can't hear
Hear
it?
me?
Yeah, I think.
There you are, voice. There you are. Now we can hear you.
Sorry guys. I hope you can hear me now well, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm saying that these systems, because they intercept the missiles way outside the atmosphere and also mostly far away from the Israeli airspace, I feel more secure knowing that these are deployed in the exact place. I think the Iranian mindset or the IRGC mindset is to launch an attack because they believe maybe that most of our Air Force pilots are too busy with Gaza or also with what's happening in Iran right now, and maybe it will be a good time to launch some sort of an attack. But they probably learned some lessons from what happened last time when they tried to launch cruise missiles, drones, and ballistic missiles all at the same time, so some arrived earlier, some arrived a little bit later, and they thought this is how they're going to challenge the air defense system. So that's not the case. That's not how they can challenge it. I feel safe, Piotr, living in Israel in time like this, but I'm also very worried about health because a war with Iran is not like a war with Gaza. This is something completely different, and the longer it will take, the dangerous it will become for all stuff, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's just very interesting to share with listeners. Obviously, you're covering this professionally, but you are there on the ground. Your personal security is another element. So, appreciate that. But Hazem, did you want to jump in and then we'll go to you, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick on retaliation. The key point when it comes to retaliation, it needs to be proportional. And Iran has nothing remotely proportional to what has been done over the past few hours and continues to be done. There's another aspect that, for one, Iran tried to retaliate already with 200 drones, all were shut down. Obviously, the response from Iranian arms and proxies, such as the Houthis, for Hezbollah, it was a very bashful drones attempt, and Hezbollah would not want the Lebanese army to get involved at this point, and they will get involved if Hezbollah tries to do more than what they've done already. For the Houthis, they're looking at the situation, they're saying, well, we don't have any capabilities, and we really do not feel like we should be dragged into this conflict with a very active air campaign that can be very easily expanded into Yemen. Also, for the Iranian regime, as you mentioned very correctly, they have a limited amount of missiles to use to reach Israel. And the failure, now we're having this conversation, there's the illusion of the capability to respond by the Iranians. If they start sending ballistic missiles and these missiles get shut down in totality, then even that illusion of capability will be gone and they will be left with absolutely nothing. So it's not an easy decision for the Iranians to take this risk of launching a failed retaliation.
On that, right? I think it's the Iranians lost a major.
I just quickly, sorry if I may. I think this was shared in Khamenei's Telegram channel. I'm just going to read it out just from the address and then possibly can go to Nothing Burger. The supreme leader of the revolution in a televised message to the Iranian nation said, quote, The armed forces will make the scoundrel Zionist regime miserable. Ayatollah Khamenei addressed the great Iranian nation in a televised message tonight. The armed forces will act with force and impoverish the scoundrel Zionist regime. The Zionist regime will not escape this crime unscathed. The Iranian people can be assured
Hey,
that
Nick, you want to hear a Cindy Stumble
the details of the
impersonation?
investigation
This fucking war is breaking my balls, and then my workers aren't showing up. I got 10 construction sites and no Mexicans.
The Iranians lost one of their
Nelson, I want my money back from investing in this piece of shit app.
You can argue which was the plausible deniability thing by striking Iran
Grant.
or attempting to.
Grant.
Obviously,
The Israelis have made an unprovoked attack on Israel, on Iran, and it's not our responsibility to come to their aid.
you can argue they're doing well in line of contact, but the Ukrainians keep, entering their own airspace. When someone was saying, the Russians will send their air force down to help the Iranians out, blah, blah, blah. Really? So the air force...
Shut the fuck up! When I am fucking speaking, you will go on fucking mute until I finish my fucking point! Is it that fucking hard to understand? Have a little modicum of decency?
Nobody's willing to
Fuck!
defend Iran's hill today. They are alone and they are afraid. For sure.
Voice, Jeff, you guys got your hands
No,
up.
man.
Go back to you.
You're just a racist
No,
dirty
Jeff
dog.
was before me.
But
I
I'm
will
sweet
explain something about
Southern
the
Belle.
Iranian-
Shut the fuck up!
Jeff could go ahead.
Oh, okay, I was trying to be ladies first, but go for it, Jeff.
You're such a gentleman. Yeah, what I wanted to point out was I think earlier you said it was interesting what they picked for targets, and I would tell you that
Stream it here on Clubhouse.
No, isn't it crazy? You invested in an app to restream your conference call on the original conference call app. It's crazy.
It makes no sense.
It's
I
yeah.
just,
Well, it's a scam. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I think they use it to vet investors and then to see how much of a sucker they are.
yeah, they're soliciting investors. That's all they're doing.
And yeah, it's basically an investment scam. It's not an actual business. It's the same thing with Fanbase. Have you ever used that racist piece of shit app?
Hey, bro.
How do I do that shit too? In Canada?
I don't know. Try setting up an app.
How do I do that?
That's how you do it. That's how you get started.
Yep. What the thing is like, so now that Clown House charges, well, they don't charge, but I think this is going to be a pay app eventually. Even if it's just $5 a year, $10 a year, I think they're eventually going to make you pay something. I think that's what they're going to do with Chatter.
Chatterbait.
Caught by surprise that in order to launch these missiles, they'll need fuel, a special fuel for these missiles. And earlier today,
They come from China. The special fuel come from China.
Bombing also in Tabriz. The fuel, the rocket fuel depots that were there as well. So it might be one of the reasons, at least, why we see this delay. Now, let's sort it out.
It would be like, no, I really want to hear what Tiffany has to say. God. That was a perfect troll name because nobody knew, and they're just like, oh no, I really, this Tiffany person's pretty interesting.
Was I doing a girl's voice or did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were from like the South. I think you were from like South Carolina or Georgia or something. Alabama.
I hate this app.
It's just hilarious how serious people take it.
I know, it's really pathetic. It shows you that even if you're a successful person and you take yourself so seriously on this app, like you have failed to comprehend one of the like preeminent points of life. It's like this is all temporary and you're willing to die on a hill, and really it's a question of like flexibility. People are inflexible. They're so rigid in their ego, and they demand that their projection, be listened to and that it's 100% correct. It's nobody is tentative, and everybody is just definitive or extremely rigid. You know, there's no give in these people's houses, which is their brain and their identity. They just, and they don't see the comedy in any of this. Which is, if you don't see the comedy, you know, then you don't have an understanding of like one of the main tenets of philosophy is that, you know, God is laughing and smiling. So.
Well, that's the thing. I think people just they don't know how to laugh, and they're taking this app to like the extreme level. Everything they take what everyone says with a grain of salt. Like,
If your behavior on here is very childish, demeaning, pathetic, you know, egotistical, vainglorious, etc., like that's how you are in the real world. Like there's no doubt about it. Like there's no online persona. That's you. Everything you say here, how you respond, how you act, that's you. So if you're a petty little obnoxious bitch, that's you in the real world. You know? That's life. You are your words.
yep. So what's going on with Chicago? I saw that there's like parades for this bullshit ICE shit.
Yeah.
And they're blocking like, what was it, Michigan Avenue? I can't remember, but they blocked part of like one of their areas right by the water where like you can't get past the road.
Yeah, I don't know, but they say Saturday could be like a very dangerous day. So I don't know. Stay home with your guns and your butter.
Yeah. Well, and look at the People's Republic of Los Angeles. What's going on there? Why the fuck did you say like your sister lives in Cali?
Yeah. Oh no,
Why the fuck was
she lives in Seattle actually, another liberal shithole. Every major city is a liberal shithole.
But that's just it. Edmund, I was in Minneapolis with my friend. We went to South Dakota, whatever. The layover was in Minneapolis for a day. And we're like, let's go take a walk down there. So we went down to the Mall of America, whatever, took the subway downtown. Like, the downtown wasn't bad because like there was a basketball game going on, so it wasn't too bad. But like the Mall of America is filled with Somali Muslims.
I know.
They've taken over.
I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen how happy these young Somalis are. They're just like kids in a candy shop, and they're where they don't belong. They shouldn't be here. I mean,
Yep.
This is the problem with America.
That's who gave us Ilhan Omar. And like here in Michigan, Dearborn, they voted Rashid Tlaib because it's like an 80% Muslim population there.
Yep. It's crazy. You think that these Muslim men or women would like wise up and at least get rid of that dumb bitch? I mean, you know, a lot of these Muslims, they sided with Trump over the trans pederasty.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the Muslims in Detroit sided with Trump. They met with him. They like shook his hand.
But the thing is what shocks me is Trump's pro-Israel.
I know, but they would rather choose that over trans pederasty because they're conservative. So yeah, they looked at Kamala and Waltz and they're like, nope, fuck that shit. They would rather have their fucking they would rather have the war and conservatives in charge than have these clown people in charge. So
Interesting.
yeah, I thought that was a surprising twist. I was like, how could they side with? Because I think they know what the game is that these Democrats are just ruthless war hawks as well, and maybe even worse. They are worse, not maybe worse. They're 100 times worse.
Well, you got someone worse than Lori Lighthead in Chicago. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that it can get worse, but yeah, he's an example of a woke leftist African American male. I mean, he sits there and he talks about how, you know, this is the way things would have been if the Confederacy won. Like, he says the most insanely stupid shit. There is no way he wins again. Like, his approval rating is that low. So like, he's going to be a one-term mayor.
You know what's going to be interesting when they start telling Chicago pension
Recipients,
people that
yeah.
get Chicago pension that you're like, yeah, you're not getting 100 cents on the dollar. You're getting like 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pushing it 50 cents of the dollar. But when they finally admit that they're fucking bankrupt, and you take away like people's retirement,
who knows if or when that'll happen, because they could just keep borrowing. You know, just in the same way that the federal government does. These city-states they do have the ability and the direct relationships, and the banks are like, you want us to lend you more money at this rate? Okay, you got a deal. Like, this is how banks make money. I mean, and the banks are agnostic too. They don't care if they're even gonna get paid back. They want the transaction fee. You know?
but fractional reserves, they keep 10% and they loan back out 90% of it. I mean, it's the fractional banking system is, oh man.
I mean, you know who is fucked? Iran. They're fucked. Palestinians in Gaza Strip, they're fucked. I mean, did you see Yemen launched a rocket and it fucking hit the West Bank? Like they're hitting their own people.
Yeah. Like they don't understand that people don't support Muslim nations. Like everyone's gonna turn against Muslim nations for Iran. Like, trust me, this is not gonna end well.
Somebody's calling us incels in the chat. Okay, let me go back to this extra.
Iranian police, all sorts of vehicles, armed vehicles, stuff that are mostly being used by police officers of the regime. Once you're going to see those being under attack, this is when you know, okay, the target is indeed to at least spark a regime change. And right now, this is not what we're seeing. We don't see any of these targets being attacked, at least not for now. So I think that would be the best indicators for you guys and for anybody who is listening and trying to understand what is going on. As long as these targets are untouched, this is obviously not the objective of those who are committing the attack.
Yeah, I think it's sort of right, boys, you know, indirectly incentivizing the Iranian people to do it of their own accord, right? The thing that Iran does have, which a lot of countries don't, when you're talking about the day after, is, well, say Gaza, for example, right? We don't have a clear idea of who would govern the Strip or Palestine as we do in Iran. You've got the Crown Prince, and we've got a clear sort of diaspora of people who could contribute towards creating a post-Islamic Republic kind of government and leadership and lead to elections and whatever. And that's clear, but sort of how do you get from now to that is sort of the key question. And obviously, Israel doesn't want to be the one to sort of take out the leaders and such, because that's a whole different element to getting the people on the ground to sort of do it for themselves sort of thing. So I think that's a really crucial point, you know, you're talking about the political direction of things. And Wajid, I know you've joined the panel. We've had great contributions from you in the past. I'm curious what your take is on everything going on at the moment.
The greatest military in the world. Nobody can beat us as long as we have the right leadership.
Has been long coming. I've heard people
President Trump gave an order to deploy to that
kind of attack since 2018, and it's been back and forth between Israel and Iran. What I received information.
Mind if I be really rude and just interrupt you with some important news? It may influence what you say next. Thank you, mate. You know, basically, President Putin, considering I was making comments about Russia just now, has spoken to both, interestingly, President Masoud of Iran and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, obviously, Russia has a, should we say, complicated relationship with the Israelis. It's not great, but it's not sort of dead. They've obviously had to navigate each other in the Syrian airspace over the years. So I'm very curious to see what he would have said, and also how Russia's thinking about it. Another piece of news is reports indicate Israel has identified preparations in Iran to launch about 100 ballistic missiles. So our sort of guesses of, you know, bigger non-drone type things, i.e. ballistics, do seem to be on point. Going to be interesting to see, you know, if that follows through. We're waiting to verify that from more sources, but that's sort of some speculative information for you. But Wajid, thanks for being there.
It will take them 12 minutes to get here. 12 minutes.
I've had people from my own sources in the Saudi military who told me that from insider sources that didn't want to identify themselves, that there was some assistance from the Saudi airspace to the Israeli government to assist with the attack in Iran. So that was a
interceptions, not in the attacks in Iran, as far as I know. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned in the Saudi airspace itself. So they were involved, but they didn't do direct attack on Iran soil. That's correct. What I was trying to say is basically this is a sign that Gulf countries are celebrating. They've been struggling with attacks by the Houthis for a minute. That is a direct link from Iran. And they've been struggling also with Lebanon for a while because Lebanon is also a state that Saudi Arabia has been trying to put its own influence on for a long time. So from what I've seen, only members of the Brotherhood and religious political movements have been the one that have been calling for action against Israel. So there is some sort of divide. I think Russia is too busy. Russia is too busy and is only going to act like a mediator. In fact, I think Russia has a lot of its citizens in Israel, so I don't know if Russia has any interest of wanting any war in this situation.
They don't have the capacity. I don't think it's about moral appetite. It's about capability, and I just don't think the Russians have the bandwidth. They can barely defend their own bloody airspace. You know what I mean?
That's why the only country that said we'll step up is North Korea. Russia didn't say they're going to step up. North Korea said that they're going to help Iran. So what's clear to me is Iran is on their own, and North Korea was helping Russia and Ukraine. So I feel like the last country that they could fall on is North Korea. And they would have to pay out of their own pocket for that, I believe. So, from my own opinion,
from the North Korean side in Kursk and Russia, it was very, inconsistent, shall we say. They denied it for months, and then eventually when you had piles of North Korean bodies being emerged, and then also when the Russians retook Kursk, or much of Kursk, it was finally revealed that they did. I do wonder how much the North Koreans would get involved. Much of their industrial capacity is already supporting the Russians. And then obviously there's the distance, proximity thing. It's quite easy for North Korea to deliver to Russia because it's just over Russian airspace. But here you've got to go through other countries, and there's a bit of a more complicated, delivery path. So
I think
much use to do this.
Iran's biggest mistake is that they started too many war fronts, and they wanted to support too many of their proxy groups without wanting to take any responsibilities for it. And they couldn't look forward to seeing that one day that all their proxies group could be dismantled and they would be the last person standing, and that's where we're left at, checkmate. So I think Iran is going to be looking at the end of its life here pretty soon, and maybe for a new regime. At least that's what Arab Gulf countries are hoping for.
Yeah, interesting though, the reports earlier saying that they're going to condemn the events, activities actions by Israel. So,
They say that all the time.
Conversation.
They've been having very close relationship with Israel behind closed doors. They always say that we condemn the actions of Israel, but then behind closed door they're having cheers and they're drinking glasses of champagne. So let's
Non-alcoholic champagne. Non-alcoholic champagne.
Non-alcoholic champagne.
When the Formula One's in town, isn't it? But boys, you wanted to jump in, or James, I saw your hand up as well. You got any news?
Nothing on my end. Yeah.
So just can you voice maybe do a summary again for us? So sort of the Israelis were launching a subsequent round of strikes on certain targets, right? How long did that last? What was the fallout from that in the past
attacks. About 200 Israeli fighter jets were participating in each and every one of them. Of course, the first one was hitting the chain of command, which had the entire Air Force leadership meeting in one place. This is something that has to do with the Mossad. There was a lot of intelligence work happening on the ground to get them all to be in the same room, and then to conduct this target. Then you had, of course, a lot of attacks on you had the Iranian Tehran International Airport, you had Natanz, you had Perchin, you had, I really cannot pull them out of my head, computer. I need to look at what got hit.
It's all right,
But,
don't worry. I know I put you on the spot there. It was more just generally what we've seen, which was 2 rounds, and now we're waiting, effectively for the Iranians to respond. Is that sort of the
yeah, we're waiting for them to respond, and we are. You see that we are prepared for it. This is a little bit less talked about, but also the Israeli Air Force is operating on the Iraqi-Syria border, also to prevent from the Iraqi Shia militias to somehow participate, because, like James was mentioning earlier, Hezbollah is off the menu at this point, so they're not going to participate, at least not according to what it looks like. So the IAF is also operating there. Of course, there are extra batteries of David Sling, Arrow 1, Arrow 3 air defense system, and also there are tailored warning of the home front command as well that is also alerting regarding the areas of living. And we constantly get reports about launches of drones, couple of here, couple of there, that are approaching Israel, but none of them really penetrated the Israeli airspace, so this is why it's not big headlines with everything that is happening right now. And I think, this is what is happening right now, basically. A little bit of nuclear component facilities, ballistic missiles, launchers, and I think the most interesting thing is that in the initial wave, and I think this is what people should really focus on right now, the Mossad was able to establish for months now launching pads from trucks within Iran, that those drones, those Israeli drones, were actually attacking the air defense systems first before we even saw the big air campaign. And I think this is what's the most interesting part in this entire action. It's not just the Air Force, it's what the Mossad have managed to establish on the ground as well.
true? Indeed, I think it goes back to what I was saying about the Ukrainians and the Israelis sort of, I don't know if they're directly learning from each other, so to speak, but it's,
They do.
Yeah, they do? Yeah, I thought so. But no, I mean, running with your theme of sort of on the menu, I mean, Iran's reeling yet again, and the Israelis are largely, feasting there. They're eating away at assets that the Islamic Republic have, or had, and, well, they just don't. If they're going to shoot a bunch of ballistic missiles, it seems a little bit underwhelming. Obviously, trying to, jinx anything, but,
It's only enough that fuel goes through. Only fuel can cut through and make really big damage if they hit our targets.
Absolutely. No, I know. I'm not trying to play that down. It's just, for all the talk that they make all the time, rhetoric, it's underwhelming in the face of things. But James, you put your hand up. I'm sure you want to make some points.
Yeah, I want to make a point about the region. So right now, in the situation we are in at the region, the
was it? Maybe now they will negotiate seriously. He still believes a deal is possible. They were close. They should have done it. Maybe now it will happen. Meanwhile, Israel admits the bombing won't fully stop Iran's nukes, but hopes it sets the stage for a US-led deal. So strike first, negotiate
I
next.
generally don't want a deal to happen. I generally don't want a deal to happen. No, like, no one from the Gulf countries want a deal to happen.
Yeah, everyone wants it. Actually, everyone wants the deal to happen. Like, everyone wants to reach a position where Iran is abiding by a certain set of understanding and rules that they work on. But what happened is that no one could control what Iran was going to do. That's what happened before. With the damage that's being imposed and the destruction of all its malicious forces in the region, and all the effort, all the IRGC external wings and the IRGC internal in Afghanistan 2.2, where Israelis or even American or French or UK people are controlling the land inside of Iran. Iran would get out of this throughout the deal. There is no possibility. The question is, how much destruction will they accept to take until they reach a deal?
Jay, can I just jump in with something from the IDF? This is a statement from the IDF. The IDF attacked a nuclear site in the Isfahan region. At this moment, Air Force fighter jets have completed an attack on the Iranian regime nuclear site in the Isfahan area under precise intel.
just go out? Crash.
Were you, surprised that Israel? Because I think it's important to highlight. We have Israeli drones flying over. For example, we have video of it of Israeli drones flying over to Greece. I mean, these aren't stealth drones. Let's make it clear. These are not stealth drones. These are just normal drones like RM-29s that get shot down by the Houthis, right? That's why they're there. But they're freely operating over Iran. We have not seen a single image, video report of Iranian being able to shoot down any Israeli air assets. The irony is the Houthis are having more success against American drones than the Iranians against Israeli drones. And again, these aren't substituted drones. I mean, what does that tell you? And
There's a
what does that
record
highlight?
out there that some
Maybe the
people
strike
have
against
been.
because one of the key targets was the command structure of the Iranian Air Defense Unit, the KHATC. Did that have an effect? Maybe it was Iranian air defense just more powerful? People talked about it as it was more powerful than it really was. I mean, what does that tell you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder a couple different things as we look at it. Yeah, number one, they did have a very good effective strike when it comes to knocking out those aerial defense systems and all of that being pre-coordinated. It's likely some of the first things that are being taken out.
Man and woman,
But I would be surprised if Mossad and their drones, being launched, didn't have a huge effect on that, on some of these,
And that's the issue that I have.
of what some of these things are. But for them to be able to go over and knock out some of these key components that shut those systems down and render them inoperable. When we started seeing some of the Iranian fighter jets getting launched, that F-35 isn't necessarily a cannon, dogfight. It's not really what it's designed for, right? So as those things start to pop up on their radar, they're able to fire freaking, from multiple kilometers away and just start knocking aircraft out of the sky if they absolutely need to. So those F-35s can dominate every single piece of air power that Iran has. So to me, that's what it's at. But the other thing that I look at as well, because I've seen what appear to be images of ballistic missiles and aerial defense systems that are getting knocked down that didn't seem to be manned. And this is the part that really started to make my head turn a little bit. If they're not getting ready fully to go into operation, they're not being manned, but they're getting struck, is that because people are abandoning their equipment, that they're essentially defecting when the word went down on all the leadership that was getting knocked down? So, still waiting to see.
I want to just quickly jump in. Yes, David, I'm going to go to you. I just want to give a quick.
But I have an answer for you, Saga.
I just want to give a quick misinformation alert. There's a video circling around showing apparently claiming that it's an Israeli pilot that his plane was shot down, took down, and there's a parachute video. That video apparently is from when Turkey shot down the Russian Su-24. That is not from this recent event. I just wanted to highlight that, everybody. Because I saw it, people are going to start tagging. That is not from. If there's a report, there's been reports in Iranian Telegram channels indicating an Israeli jet was shot down, and then this video populated. That video appears to be from when Russia lost its Su-24, not related to the current event. Sorry, James.
Guys, can you give me 2 minutes? I need to drop off. I just want to make some closing comments, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on with them, and then I do want to jump in. We've got
not to beat a dead horse, but the whole question regarding North Korea helping, there's no way they can help. I mean, the only way they can help is sending missiles by sea, and it's not the ship that will be taken out if that attempt happens. It's the whole port that will be taken out. The other point I want to make, it's a very important conversation that was happening earlier regarding the oil facilities. The oil facilities are not on the target list at this point for multiple reasons. The U.S. side President Trump has been clear all along that those should not be hit because they affect global markets. On one end, they affect American public opinion. But also, there's a more important aspect that any attack on oil facilities may open, at least in the Iranian regime's mind, the opportunity to strike oil facilities in the region. And that's something that nobody in the region and nobody in the United States want. A final point, actually, to that parachute video, and I've been wanting to mention this for a while. As somebody who have been involved in coordinating air campaigns, I am beyond impressed at the capability, discipline, and technical discipline by the Israeli Air Force. We're talking about a very complex campaign with thousands of miles being flown continuously by each platform. Not a single incident. That is unprecedented. Like there needs to be a huge kudos to the IAF for being able to maintain such campaign with no incidents, no catastrophic incidents, no catastrophic failure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do want to break in. This was shared. What was this? A couple minutes ago. So this was IDF spokesman, Brigadier General F.T. Deffer press conference was cut short due to military headquarters going on high alert. While taking questions at the Kira military headquarters in Tel Aviv, a loudspeaker can be heard announcing that the base is going into defensive standby alert, meaning that it is preparing for an attack. As of now, no ballistic missiles have been launched from Iran. This was 6 minutes ago, but the Kira did go into heightened alert during a live press conference. James, I saw your hand up. And then there's others, but James, I don't know if you have other breaking news.
Okay.
Or voice, go ahead.
No, it's just that it connects to the question you asked, and sorry James, but I'm sure you will ask me before the discussion goes to somewhere else. You asked how can it be that Israeli drones can operate on the ground on Iranian soil while the Iranian drones are not being that successful. Now, if we already established that we have Mossad teams and other human assets that are being there on the ground and of course helping this entire operation so well that they have actually managed to launch those drones undetected from all these mobile launching pads, then you have to understand that whatever forces that are on the ground, they also have probably portable jammers. So they are like sort of like a manpack that can disrupt radio frequency, GPS signals, telemetry signals. You know, they can do GPS spoofing. So they could basically have spoofing devices. They can be next to the Kashan Air Base, for example, and disrupt communications there. That will be very hard for the Iranian regime or the military to launch anything over there when there is no communication. You have that also in Israel. They're doing it sometimes in Israel when there is a conflict with Lebanon. I don't see a reason why they won't be able to do it there and physically compromise antennas, cut power to GCS. So, I mean, might explain what. And if I had to bet on it, I would put a suitcase of money that that's the case.
So I wanted just to talk quickly about thank you, voice. A couple of points. So let's not forget the attack started around 20 hours ago, a bit less, 18 to 20 hours ago. It has been a continuous back and forth with the time it takes to go back if you usually stalk into weaponry and strike. It started with an assassination of the top leadership, and then everything from there were attacks on locations, like important military locations, especially related to the ballistic missiles and to the nuclear program that Iran has. What I want to talk about is right now we're starting to get what seems to be a wake up from the Iranian media apparatus on Twitter and on other areas start talking about shooting down planes, and then their air defense is starting to work, drones being hit, and the possibility of an attack in the next couple of minutes or couple of hours. All of this is like, I think 20 hours, not too late, but we were expecting a faster response, which shows how Israel took the Iranian by surprise. What I want to add is please make sure that when you get information like the F-35 being hit, I wanted to ask Matt this question if he's available. Do you really believe?
Sorry, James, just to jump in, mate. Voice, you just said that apparently there are missiles now being launched towards Israel. That's coming from her because she's obviously in Israel and she's received an alert, nationwide red alerts in the coming minutes, according to Home Front Command. That also comes from Fate Took News. So it looks like the Iranian response has begun of some form now. We wait to see exactly what, and obviously for everyone in the.
Let them come, Peter.
I have a question.
Giving you as much updates
Matt, what's the probability that the defense system could shoot an F-35 or an F-15? The Iranian air defense system could shoot one of those planes down, because that's what's being reported right now in the media.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, that's their best shot is going to be the S-300s from the Russians, and they're rumored to have the S-400s. So if they had S-400s, that might be their best shot at getting it done. But I don't think they actually have. I only saw one report last year that Iran possibly had it. But what we've learned from the Ukraine war about the Russian S-300 system is that they're not nearly as formidable as we had thought they would be. So I would put very low probability that the S-300s are going to be able to take care of that. Plus, again, when we go back and we start talking about the different intel on the ground that was able to assess and all this happened, it's just highly improbable.
Well, following up on that, what do we know about the Iranian capabilities then? What do we know about the Iranian capabilities and responding?
I was thinking the same.
In which way? Why is it
Responding back towards Israel? Is that your question?
If they are being,
One responding back to Israel,
Why?
and the other is rejecting whatever is coming from Israel.
And yeah, rejecting what's coming from Israel, their best shots, and likely Israel is actually launching a bunch of cruise missiles not from
the Iranians, then Israel can do it to any other country in the region. That's it.
Daddy, wait me real quick, bro. I got a question. We need tech support.
I will always have hope for Palestine. Within the borders of Palestine, we can deal a heavy cost to the Israelis as long as we're not expelled. Other than that, everything happening outside of Palestine is a complete frustration by everybody. The Turks, the Arabs, the Iranians.
Look, there's a cake.
Als ik er goed aan wie doe, dan kijk je nog wat zo.
I know it's great, bro.
Don't let us in the air. We don't know things. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
May I make a quick comment?
Sure.
I was confused about all this. So I went into the history of it. And I understand that the Brits were there after this war. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, because it was part of the Ottoman Empire which and the Brits, this is also the First World War, the Brits, the French, and I think there was another nation.
Ashkenaziyotcha ninguém se então.
Dumb as fuck.
Yeah, smart Europeans, which were born, they didn't got any children.
Targets, and again, if they do have a nuclear warhead, now would be the time for them to use it, to be perfectly honest, because the regime's in danger of losing power, right? Like, desperate times call for desperate measures type things. But quantity definitely is going to end up being one of those things that Iran is going to be looking at using in order to get those this is through. The question is how much we're living and that's where my team with the accuracy of the missiles that they end up trying to take out. They were great for refugees that have that determination. They launch, 20 out opposed to just
the offer of a state and determined together to wipe out the Jewish state. I'll mute now and you keep going if you.
Real quick, so I can say organized. Don't forget what you're going to say, Jay. But remember, we're talking about apartheid, right? Is it happening or is it not? So I'm trying. Hold on, Jay. Just trying to keep track. If anybody wants to help make sense out of El Normo's counter argument, if you talk over me, horrible, I will smack I will put you in the goo.
Okay.
So, great. I think that if somebody wants to help make it didn't make sense. If it makes sense to anybody else, that'd be great.
Okay.
Because I'm going to mark it down as apartheid.
Yeah.
And I hope you know what you're talking about, because I think you just got a new room.
Yeah, I mean, Norm is right to characterize the situation as very complex and tragic.
Someone gonna speak to the apartheid part.
Yeah, I was about to go there. I'm sorry. I always kind of try to put my conversation into larger context. So yeah, a lot of what Norm says is true. However, I have to say, I'm a very, very fair person. I don't think it justifies anything with what's going on in Gaza right now. It's a tragedy and it's horrific.
Is it apartheid or is it not?
I think so. I think it is.
All right, so you can't request it. Thank you, Mike. Hopefully you can chime in something else.
Oh, well, you want specific examples? Yeah, sorry. I have to do my homework.
I need somebody that's going to help support Normo's counter argument so I can make sure I'm being fair to figure out how to judge each point at a time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Gazans can't leave, enter Israel, and come out of Israel freely.
That's not what I'm requesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
By the way, 40,000 Gazans came into Israel per day to work. We paid them 10 times what they would get paid in Gaza, and they returned home. Those people later invaded and slaughtered the people that employed them in the Gaza envelope that they keep.
I wouldn't sweeping generalization on.
All right, so we've got it. It's apartheid. So I have that noted. Let's move on to whatever else. I guess Jay, you wanted some clarity before we move on to the next incident. Go ahead, Jay. Hopefully you didn't forget.
I kind of have, but it's okay. It's not a problem.
Okay, let's move on to
Question is, are you looking for evidence to support your claim?
We got that. I just said we're moving on. Unless somebody can provide some kind of counter argument. You might have just got that, but go ahead and provide the evidence for the claim.
So was there a law or a policy of racial discrimination anywhere in Israel? Did anybody come up with an answer?
Detail that.
So he feels that outside.
That's why it's important to stay organized.
Yeah.
See how we roll and believe it. Like, I don't want to be.
He didn't say apartheid. He said it was intention to dominate and inhumane, and it was systematic oppression.
He didn't say that all three of those things met the requirements for apartheid based on.
Yes, international law. Now listen, can anybody provide a counter argument? If not, we're just going to move on to the next thing.
Quickly though, I need a question. So Norm was talking about Gaza, not in Israel, like proper.
No, we're talking
you know
about
what I mean?
area.
Oh no, I disagree with him.
Okay, well, it's apartheid. I got it marked down.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Aside from the. Okay. Next.
Well, I was just calling real quick. It would seem like by that loose definition, practically every country in the world is apartheid, especially the entire Arab world, including the United States. So I think we're being a little dishonest
explain that to a grown adult. So I don't really want to go beyond that statement. That's a ridiculous assertion to make. Nobody is getting profiled for not living or for not being Native American when they're on a reservation. Like, that's not a fucking thing that happens. That is the most unbelievably bad thing argument you could possibly make in this scenario, which is why, hold on, which is why I was saying that there's no point in arguing with science. So if we're talking about Africa, if you're talking about the two justice systems, so if you're talking about, please shut the fuck up so I can finish talking, please. Excellent. Please remain shutting the fuck up. Yeah, so when you're talking about two justice systems, I think that it would be a great argument to make that America is operating under a highly oppressive state against black people. The thing is that there are not actual law, and again, this feels condescending to say to a grown adult because it's obviously stupid. There are not two literal justice systems in America. That is something that black people are trying to convince white people of a reality of an oppressive state that we live under in this country. So if you're arguing that, like, well, America is an apartheid state too, then I would say, cool, we might be a little closer aligned than you fucking think. But I don't think that that's the assertion that you're making. There are not two literal legal systems for black people. It's just that one group is persecuted more, prosecuted more, illegally arrested more than any other group in this country. But there are not two actual legal systems for black people. You gotta be a fucking idiot to think that anybody would even take that kind of argument seriously.
There are 3 points of oppression, but my main point was the Arab world's clearly apartheid, and I just threw in the United States as an extra bonus. But your definition didn't stay 2 separate legal systems. The 3 points specifically included power and oppression, correct? Of different ethnicity groups.
I was simply just responding to what you said, brother. This is what I mean when I say you can't argue with Zionists. These niggas are stupid.
No, but you responded by throwing in a 4th bullet point of your definition of apartheid.
I was, because that's what my dad is putting on, and I found out all about this.
Yeah, I don't understand what he's trying to say by conflating.
I don't know either.
No, what I was saying,
It's already shifted.
Maybe I guess the similarities between state and federal, so all states have different laws from each other, but they all fall under federal authority, including Native American reservations. So no, you're incorrect.
He doesn't even know what his own point is that he's trying to make. Like, this
Well, answer me
this
this.
is an exercise
Would
in
you say that the Arab countries are apartheid states? All of them.
I don't fucking care. We're talking about Israel.
Because no Jews, no news, got it.
We're literally talking about Israel.
No, you're calling out injustice in apartheid states because until
So they're gonna call it out.
nobody is free, correct?
If they are,
Give an example.
yeah.
Give your example. Give a good one.
Example. Could he repeat the 3 points of an apartheid system again? Just established. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to read.
Right.
I'm trying to. So, here it is. This definition is from the 1973 Apartheid Convention. I would imagine that they may know something about apartheid. And it comes under the Rome Statute, which is from the International Court of Appeals, the International Criminal Court. And between those two, they established three elements for apartheid. Those elements are: one, intent to dominate one group by another; two, systematic oppression; and three, inhumane acts. Those are the three things that establish apartheid by international courts.
That is wild. And was anybody ever brought up on these charges and had the opportunity to confront their defense? It's very wild. And had the opportunity to confront their accuser and provide the evidence that that ever happened, or is this something that somebody decided ex parte? So, just wondering. Asking for a friend. You're out of, you don't have any audio.
Which one of those points does the Muslim governments not do to the non-Muslims within the Arab world? It seems very obviously clear that the non-Muslims meet all three of those points of oppression, power dynamics, marginalization, violence.
But this is what we want to go with.
Non-Muslim populations within the Muslim Arab world.
Well, this is what we want about Islam, right? Because
No, but the whole theory is everyone's an apartheid. There's many apartheid states then.
Okay,
And you're kind of claiming Israel seems to be this lone,
I'm not.
apartheid state in the world.
No, that's your matter. Yeah, nobody said that they're the only apartheid state in the world. We're talking about Israel right now. You want to talk about the problems answer? We can do that.
Yeah, the problem I'm hearing is the moment Rohan or anybody says, let's just narrow this down to Israel, I've heard people say, okay, well, let's talk about America. Let's talk about what they're doing in Antarctica. Like, we're talking about a specific thing. And it seems like you're trying to obfuscate or distract us from the conversation.
No, I think what he's doing is he's halfway admitting that this is an apartheid state, but so is everything else.
No, I'm just trying to say
That's pretty much what's happening.
I hear outrage all day long about Israel being an apartheid. Not once in the past 2 years have I heard any mention of not one Arab country being an apartheid state. So given that you guys care so much about justice, freedom, and individual liberty, I just find that quite alarming and somewhat surprising. And I don't believe it's whataboutism. I believe it's a critique of your intent
Okay, Judas.
and your values.
Jihadis, if you're right, we're hypocrites. Now what?
Hold on for a second.
I think what racism is insane that you're going to go immediately to Arab nations.
So, all right, so listen, right now, I don't see any pushback on Israel being an apartheid. And then, one second, Norman. And I guess if you guys want to entertain this, and I'm fine with it, what Jihad has said, I think what you should do, Jihad, is the same thing that Norman requested everyone to do, and Rohan came with the proof. So go ahead and give us,
No, I don't think Rohan gave the proof. He said that's a legal system. And I pointed out that countries have a hang on. That's the only one he said. Legal system. And I pointed out to you that inside of America, there's one legal system. Outside, we're not subject, like in Mexico, we're not subject to their legal system. I pointed that out. Outside of Israel, the Israeli citizens are subject to the Israeli legal system, and
this is what happened, right? So remember you said that. I don't think people really understanding what you said. So I opened the floor. So hold on. So I opened the floor for anyone else to support your counter argument. We didn't get much. I know we got a whataboutism, and I get it. We will. I said we can entertain that too, but you just provide the proof the same way Rohan did. If you guys want to entertain it, but you're saying that people aren't seeing it, even the people on your side, unless they take another stab at it. Anyone want to support what Normal said?
Well,
If not, we'll move on to the next. Yes.
This is the strength of an argument, not anybody's support. Rohan mentioned vague things: oppression, inhumane, dominate. He didn't give one single example, except for separate legal systems. And I pointed out that Israelis have an Israeli legal system, and Palestinians have a Palestinian legal system. They're different.
So this is not
That's
true.
not apartheid. That's not apartheid.
I actually have written down what I said. So here it is. But you got on mute. I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you. So the HRW documented widespread policies affecting Palestinians, including
Name one, yeah.
Terrible.
what the fuck? Are you,
Oh my God.
bro? You gotta be open. My 3-year-old nephew doesn't do this.
Including
Anyhow, you just want me to start again? Documented widespread policies affecting Palestinians, including, and I read this before, movement restrictions, checkpoints, barriers, land confiscation, home demolitions, forcible displacement, denial of residency, and dual legal systems. Dual legal systems was number 4 on the list.
So, no examples of any of the others, right? Or am I wrong? Not one example.
All those could be like all those are compatible with it not being an apartheid. So do they have a specific like here's a specific case where the
what happened?
government say, hey, because of your ethnicity and race, you can't do this, or is it like security issues? Like, can we actually get details as to what it is?
I was saying, that's exactly where I'm coming from.
So now, wait, hold on. I just want people to see what just happened. First thing was, the other thing I mentioned was dual laws. Turns out that's not.
That's the only one we can start with. Oh my God.
You can't help it. It's like, you can't help it. There's something about impulse control and IQ that we won't get into, impulse control and rational thinking. But I want to post those. I'm going to post those. I'm going to post those in the chat. I'm going to post those in the chat in a little bit. When it talks about impulse control and how it correlates with poor rational thinking. That'll be my last.
The fragility.
I'm going to get this out.
Go ahead.
So I want people to realize what just happened. We slid from the only thing I mentioned was dual laws. Turns out that was number 4 on the list. So without even saying, you know what, I was wrong about that, they're now trying to slide to, well, and then give specific examples. Instead of saying, let's go to the specific examples, because there are many. There are many.
That's my.
Well, let's have one.
So,
Because I never. This is my first time calling Mike really. That's what I want to hear. Because I'm kind of agnostic. Yeah, what's this to me example?
okay, cool. So I'm going to go through the report now from it's actually called Abusive Israeli Policies Constitute Crimes of Apartheid and Persecution. Crimes against humanity should trigger action to end repression of Palestinians. This is by the Human Rights Watch. So I'm going to go through now and make some examples to you guys. But just don't keep moving the goalposts.
Well,
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for your argument to keep doing that. Give me some time.
One is, I think there's a lot of confusion on what these areas even are. I mean, Norm keeps trying to draw the distinctions. Remember, actually, the goalpost is actually kind of shifted. The first plan was Israel is an apartheid state. The West Bank isn't Israel. Unless you want to say that's Israel, then, okay, then all those Palestinians no longer get that West Bank. Then I guess Oslo, of course, has been solved. I guess they annexed it then. But if you don't want to make that claim, and that is going to eventually be a Palestinian state, maybe, then what is the claim? Israel shouldn't have the laws be put on it.
Does that still mean that I guess go into the West Bank and
The fight terrorism.
what terrorism? What do you mean? What's terrorism?
An argument like terrorism.
For example, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the city of Jenin and Tukara, as we've been fighting.
Okay, so tell me West. So West.
So there are massive weapons
ready whenever the street clears.
I just gave you the weapons cache, by the way. I mean, there's tons of this. It's like every day they're doing stuff.
Okay, cool. Alright, so
We're in a wall with that.
this
Yeah.
he is crazy.
Not crazy? Oh, I know what I'm talking about.
Stop interrupting it. How is this hard?
He doesn't have the ability.
I'm the one person on the stage defending the Jews. The one person.
Hey, and I might get you.
Hey,
I'm gonna go Goyle.
Alright,
You're not a Goyim, sir.
Snark.
You're not a Goyim, sir.
That's another two hours right here.
You're not a Goyim, sir.
Too hot. Okay, cool. So, some people were asking for examples. So I'll get right into the examples. But I did want to say that that argument that keeps coming up about Israel's state and what happens inside the state to me is nonsensical, because if somebody said, well, World War II Germany, were they really terroristic against the Jews? Because most of the murders of Jews happen outside of Germany. Nobody will make that argument, right? Because it's silly. It's an embarrassing argument to keep making. But
That's not what I'm saying.
I am gonna keep reading. So let me get to my point. For examples, torture and abuse in detention. So this is documented by the UN Committee Against Torture, Human Rights Watch, the Israeli Human Rights NGO, and Public Committee Against Torture in Israel. Methods reported: beating during interrogation, stress position, sleep deprivation, threats of rape or harm to detainees or their families, excessive isolation, tight handcuffing, continuous physical abuse.
I'm Israel Chai, and much support to the Indian LGBTQ community. My fellow whites, welcome to New York.
And children. Many Palestinian minors have been subjected to physical and psychological
Black
abuse.
Lives
This is
Matter.
documented
I'm Israel.
by UNICEF and the Defense for Children International and multiple other organizations. It said in 2015, UNICEF contact with the military detention system appears to be widespread, systematic, and institutional.
In our history burns bright for trans liberation. Agnes herself, our bold Jewish pioneer, sparked a revolution in the 1920s with the first gender-affirming surgeries at his Institute for Sexual Science.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Hope rooted in repairing the world through love for all identities. But the evil Nazis torched his institute in 1933, burned our precious transgender books, trying to erase it.
So the use of administrative detention, Palestinians held without charge or trial for years, usually of evidence. This is legal under international law. Has been used extensively. As of 2024, 1,200 Palestinians were in administrative detention. There were no charges, and they cannot defend themselves in court. These charges were it says no charges, cannot defend themselves in court, often renewed endlessly. And then it goes into talk about the blockades, severe restrictions of movement, humanitarian crises, shortage of medicine, fuel, clean water, and building materials, collapse of the economy, frequent intentional electricity blackouts, excessive force and killings, using live ammunition against unarmed protesters. Over 20 Palestinian protesters killed in rival protests. Home demolitions, they use it as punishment against families of suspected attackers. Condemned by the UN, a major human rights group, as collective punishment and inhumane treatment. So, in summary, torture, detention, ill treatment of children, inhumane treatment, torture of children, administrative detention, blockades, excessive force. I mean, this is documented by the UN, UNICEF, HRW, the CRC, Amnesty International, on and on and on. This is not Rohan speaking. So I'll rest it. I mean, there's so much more. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what the argument, like, all of them are bad. If bad thing being apartheid, we got all of them. If we're gonna really get it, like, we really need to send that really needs to catch up on what the fuck we mean by this word. You read off a bunch of bad things, but to me, those all why the U.S. couldn't do those same things to like random black people. Would we call that apartheid? Maybe we would. But that seems widely out of range with how we usually use it. I mean, if that's what we mean by apartheid, fine. This was an apartheid state. I don't even care about that point, but that just doesn't seem how like we typically use it.
Are you saying it doesn't meet the criteria for apartheid as defined in international law?
No, that just doesn't seem how we use apartheid. What he just named, like detention, harsh treatment. Like that's we do that to African Americans. I don't think we'd say we live in an apartheid state. And then you might say it's a different degree, yada yada yada. But then I can also just say they're in wartime, like, just terrorists over there. So, yeah.
So do you think it's just a coincidence that all the major organizations that study apartheid have come to this conclusion? I mean, is that, hold on, no, I want to finish my sentence for one time. This time I want to finish my sentence. Do you think that it's just a coincidence that all the major organizations that study this, the people with expertise, with knowledge of what's happening, with case studies, matter of fact, I'm going to post some case studies next, with case studies, that they all come to the same conclusion? Is that just a coincidence, or could there be another reason why they all come to the same conclusion?
I mean, yeah, it could be possible. It's apartheid. It's not apartheid, but what you've read doesn't seem to be anything like apartheid. I would just love to see them actually take this to court, and be like, hey, you're getting apartheid because you're, fucking up kids and torturing them. That's what apartheid means. It's fair, okay, sure, that's what we mean by apartheid. But until then, it just seems like we're listing off bad things and saying bad things equal apartheid.
I think I'm a little confused. Are you saying that these bad things don't meet the criteria for apartheid, or you think yes, it does? But it doesn't.
No, it doesn't seem like any of those things meet. Yeah, it doesn't seem like any of those things meet any necessary condition of apartheid.
And
So you can
Rohit,
have all those
just to
things.
be clear, where did you get that that source from? Where is that coming from?
Which one? This.
No, the criteria.
Oh, the,
Rohit.
but the criteria comes from, let me go back up real quick. That criteria that I listed comes from, show it to me. Here it is. It comes, so it says, these are applied definitions from the 1973 Apartheid Convention. My bad, you posted in the chat. And the Rome Statute from the International Criminal Courts. These establish 3 elements for apartheid: intent, oppression, and inhumane acts. Yeah.
So.
And the oppression is.
What's the intent part? I didn't get the intent part.
Sure. God fucking damn. Intent to dominate one group by another.
Oh, what's the evidence of that? Oh, you have evidence of the intent part? Oh, show me. Oh, please, I'd like to see that.
Okay, yeah.
Persecution of Muslims. Persecution of Muslims.
nine of them,
keeping
you know,
Jewish
hit the
Israelis
ground.
as the
So
dominant group. In
I
addition,
don't
the
know.
Jewish
You know, we'll see
legal
what
system
happens
is not
in the
incidental.
coming
The
hours.
system was designed and maintained intentionally to provide superior legal status to one ethnic group over another.
But Israel,
Then it says movement restrictions. It says, and it quotes some
it's not
person saying
proportional.
security
That's
is
what
not
I'm
the
trying to
only
say.
consideration.
It's not
These
proportional.
restrictions,
Iran is not
demographic,
capable
political
of leveling
considerations are at
proportional
play.
damage.
So when movement restrictions are used not just for short-term security, but to control the ability of a population to move, develop economically, or organize politically, this is domination. Then it quotes Netanyahu saying, with no more occupied settlements, every community will remain under Israel's sovereignty, intended to dominate. Then it talks about denial of rights to return citizenship laws. So it says, it's quoting Justice Minister saying, Israel must ensure a Jewish majority. That is the basis of our policy. This shows the intent to dominate through citizenship and residency policies, explicitly prioritizing and preserving Jewish demographic dominance. So, I mean, and there's more. It's like, so these were intentional policies put in place to dominate another group.
I think that means you're right here. I think that means that whole.
You can just send it to me. Let's never meet it. Never meet it, Panda.
I'm sorry.
The Arabs burst out from Arabia. Greetings from Israel's eternal end.
It's not apartheid. He's thinking that this question will show that it's not apartheid. So.
No, it's not even.
So is it apartheid?
Please do where you get sick.
I don't think it's apartheid, but
So do you want to go through other? Do you want to go through other criteria from the ICC?
With ICC,
We were just talking about wait, kind of you went way too fast. We're talking about the intent. I would like to see Rowan. I would like to go on our criteria. We're showing actually the same criteria, which needs to be the necessary component to me, honestly. So I would like to see what he read, like going over quotes because and one of the things so popular was about the right of return.
Yeah, I also gave you links as well. If you could go through those, but then yeah, Rohan, you could. We'll go through the intent. What are the other?
what are we doing now? Let me moderate, please.
He wants more proof.
More proof.
That
That.
Hold on.
I know, but see, I can answer what I want. I asked Ron, can you just send it to me? He read it. I didn't
No,
actually.
you just told me. Okay, if you want to go through the intent, that's the criteria that you wanted to go to. That's
What Roman is showing. Yes, that's what. How do you wait? This. Okay. I said what the biggest thing. The criteria is exposure. The criteria is intent. I asked Rohan. Rohan was given. I am relaxed. I'm relaxed. Rohan was given evidence for intent. I said he read it off, and now I'm asking Rohan, can you send it to me? You just send it to me. I'm gonna read through it. It's not that hard to track what happened.
Yeah, you got way too many words. I don't know why you had to repeat that for some weird reason.
Kids, you aren't understanding. Every time I say it, you repeat something
Where do you
different.
want to go from here? What do you want to do? What do you want to do next?
No, at this point, he needs to read what Rohan said. I think Rohan said, did you send it? Just send something.
We're going to wait till he reads.
High breaking news, multiple rockets have struck in the heart of Tel Aviv.
Did they land?
Wait, you said some rockets hit Tel Aviv?
Did they land?
He does that all the time. He goes into rooms and does that.
No, look at the news, schmuck.
Yeah, as of 2 minutes ago, Iran strikes are shaking buildings in Israel. I just like.
Yeah, but did they land though?
Iran's retaliatory strikes have shaken buildings in Israel, according to former Israeli ambassador. It says Iran fired hundreds of various ballistic missiles towards Israel. In what Tehran? Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get some. But it looks like they had to land in
trails.
That could be, yeah, but they could have shot it down and then the debris could have came down.
True. Alright, I dropped the link real quick.
Yeah, please do. I'm gonna keep my hopes up.
Okay, there it is.
You're gonna keep your hopes up because innocent people died, you sick, twisted bitch. Go look in the mirror and then go to the gym and fuck your brain, you twisted slut, whore, filthy, vile cunt.
Shut up. Republican, shut up.
Wishing for people's death. Oh yeah, is that what it's like in the ghetto? You wish for people to die on your street, you sick, twisted bitch.
Yeah, you don't care about murder, right?
Oh man, we got a bitch. We got a bitch.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Panda, shh.
No, wait, what the fuck are you panda-pandaing?
Yeah, let's move on.
Just stop, shh. It's
Shush
fine.
what? Shush what? Who are you? Who is this? Hey, if you look at my phone, I don't know how to spell shush. Shush what? Who is that?
I also agree with you about this, but I'm not gonna openly rejoice. Let's keep it.
Okay, that's you.
So if I can try at this, basically there is Israel.
Yes, so
proper.
landing. Sorry.
There
I
is,
thought it was like you.
wait. There is. Oh, okay. Mashallah. Okay. There is. Look. There is Israel proper. Then there's other disputed territory. Let's say Gaza, West Bank. What else? East Jerusalem. What's the other one? The last one? Golden Heights, right? So if you can indeed, let's just say, apartheid non-citizens or whatever the case may be, like does that then that is apartheid. But if apartheid is only within a country, within its own borders or whatever the case may be, then it's not apartheid. You see what? Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys?
I'm sorry, can you explain it again?
It depends on apartheid. For example, in Russia and Ukraine, Russia would be committing apartheid. There's like a disputed territory, right? And I don't even know if Ukraine would be considered committing apartheid. Yeah. Those are not Israel proper, right? And that's what you guys are saying. There is apartheid.
You gave yourself a bad example.
Yeah, I know, but you see what I mean, though, right? Okay.
Can I respond to that directly?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So it says, apartheid does not have to be limited to within a country's own borders. While apartheid is most famously associated with the internal policies of South Africa, the legal definition of apartheid under international law is broader and can apply extraterritorially, that is beyond the state's own border.
Oh, then it's apartheid 100%. Where's the lawyer that was here that lied to us about the law and stuff like this? He's actually right there. Normal, come up for a second.
I forgot he was still in the audience. So I don't know if he folks
No, they're not. We have a definition. So yes, you can be committing apartheid in non-Israel proper. Does that make sense? Golden Heights, West Bank, Gaza, the other one. Whatever.
That's why it's so annoying, man.
You think Gaza's an apartheid state too? Just read it, but I had to come back to hear that. You think Gaza's an apartheid state? How?
Anyhow, states or entities, that argument is so stupid. Will you guys stop making it? Can be held responsible for apartheid practices they carry out in territories they control or occupy, even if those territories are outside their formal sovereign borders. Again, nobody would argue, well, World War II Germany wasn't really all the way terroristic because the Jews were mostly gassed in foreign countries. Like
No, that's not a
it's
good
a,
thing.
well, it's a similar argument. It's similar enough just to say that the location of the actual apartheid actions is meaninless. It means nothing.
Being similar enough is what that's meaningless. Like that, did you straw man the point?
No. It's a parallel.
By definition, straw man the point.
No, the parallel is, here's a parallel. Here's what makes it an analogy that works. Because it doesn't have to be the same thing to be an analogy, right? If it were the same thing, it would not be an analogy.
I'm not saying it's not the same thing. I'm saying the analogous property is false, actually.
Right, okay, so let's talk about it. We're talking about if bad actions taken by a state, if the location of those actions determine this particular definition that we're talking about. So, the location of the actions is meaningless.
Yeah, by the way, that's not me or Norm's argument either, by the way.
Okay, so now we're moving to, it's not the argument.
I never said anything about location.
What is it in the argument?
Norm tried to correct you earlier when you tried to do that horrible thing over here with this, like...
But there is a location.
It's very location thing. It has nothing to do with location.
What? So West Bay Como, what is it? What West Bay Como?
West Bay Como, I don't
the point is, being inside or outside the borders make absolutely no difference on how we determine if a state is terroristic or apartheid-like or not.
I agree. That's why that wasn't me and North's point, which is why it is strong.
Oh my gosh, that was the point the whole time.
No, it wasn't. And nor even tried to say it wasn't.
The entire line. That's where you're getting this.
Christ.
Like, Horrible made that stupid point. We never made that point. At least I didn't. I'll be clear, say I never made that.
Am I crazy?
No. Horrible responded to his point.
So, is your point that Israel is horrible? Is your point that Israel is horrible, or is your point that Israel is apartheid, or has apartheid system?
It has apartheid system by definition in Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, Golan's.
I don't think you want to say all that. Let's just pick one. Otherwise, you don't really know what you're talking about. Like, you don't know what about it. Let's take one at a time.
Okay.
So where is there apartheid?
Okay, let's take West Bank.
Okay. Well, we go to there. Where is the West Bank? Go ahead.
All of it.
Okay, so let's say if I go to a place called Efrat in the West Bank, is apartheid there?
No.
Not in Efrat. Okay. So tell me where. How about Ramallah? Is there apartheid there?
What about Hebron?
Okay, that's a good example. Let's go to Hebron. Okay. Now, what's happening in Hebron? Do you know what Hebron is?
Don't worry, I don't want to sit around talking to you. Normal, don't worry.
Me neither. Let's talk about Hebron.
For you, don't you worry.
No, I just want to ask you. Tell me about apartheid in Hebron. I want to learn. Anybody? Bueller? No.
Wait my legs.
What is the apartheid? Okay. So you don't know, but you're going to try to find it, right? What is the apartheid?
I know it exists, so trust me.
You know it exists?
Yeah, so just listen.
Okay, where?
Let's wait for the links, my goodness.
I don't want the list. I'm just talking to you.
Yeah, well, the links are very strong things. We'll get the links and we'll talk about it.
Okay. We talking about human rights, but I don't know what their authority is supposed to be. Israel has never been charged with it. Israel has never been on trial with it. This is just somebody saying that Israel has apartheid.
By the definition of what? Rohan, was that the definition of the United, like what was that? Where'd you get that?
Because this is...
Guys, what the fuck? Get the definition yourselves, alright?
I mean, it's
So,
all
goodness.
Denominate, I think, is the big thing. Like, somebody's that has bad intentions or something.
You gotta be some strong denial, boy, so...
Yeah, but I'm not
No, non-Israeli, of course. So I didn't get really past that. And he said, I don't know, bad thing just make let's talk about military law. So if you're at war with somebody,
That would do it like this. Does the military law apply outside of Israel?
when you're at war, yes, obviously.
And then the Israeli civil law does apply outside of Israel too.
Say it again, yeah. Oh, makes sense, doesn't it?
Right. So saying that the law does not apply outside of Israel, both laws are still applying, or it just depends on who you are. But it is.
No, it depends on where you are.
Those laws still
Right.
apply even outside of Israel.
So Israeli citizens are subject to Israeli law in Israeli areas outside of Israel. And hang on, yes, right. And Palestinian law applies in Palestinian areas outside of Israel. That's normal. That's not apartheid or oppression. That's Oslo.
Israeli military
Yeah.
applies outside of Israel.
Okay, if you're at war, like I mentioned in Jenin, which is a terror camp, somebody who has been arrested for terrorism is subject to military law because of war. That's normal with any army, right?
Okay. So then what you're saying also, the Israeli civil law, right? Does that apply to people, the Palestinians that have not been arrested for terrorism?
Of course not. Why would it?
Right, Penny, you sent the links in the chat.
Palestinians who apply to Palestinians who are Palestinians who are not arrested, right?
Right. Penny, do you want to go over the links that you sent, or are you finding more links? Goodness gracious.
No, he can go for himself. I don't like talking to him.
Okay.
I don't blame you. I'm a tough guy to
honestly, you literally interrupt, so it's like there's no point.
Oh, I didn't mean you to feel dread. That's not the way we talk.
Trust me, I cannot be friends by your bitch ass. Go call your peoples in Tel Aviv, matter of fact. Don't do that.
Let's do this.
Oh, poor Norbo. Norbo, don't call. Don't call. Okay. Oh, they're funny, right? That's funny.
I apologize, but you gotta understand the situation.
Don't apologize for me.
Why don't we talk about one specific thing? So where are you going to find out? We're still going. Where's your part in Hebron? Tell me about your apartheid in Hebron. I want to hear.
Go link it
In the chat, normal.
It's in the chat. So you don't know you didn't use the link you posted, but you can't express it or something? Did you read it? Which link do you want to look at?
I guess we'll go through all of the links. So if you want to start with the first one.
Okay. Well, posted by Panda Bear or what? Okay, well, there's a lot. I'm counting from the bottom. How many up? 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one?
I see 3.
Yeah, counting from the bottom.
And revealed that today that they did that and they exploded all of their cannons, all of their launchers of their ballistic missiles that they prepared to launch on Israel as a retaliation to an Israeli attack. So that's why it took them so long, because they couldn't shoot anything outside of Iran. They couldn't shoot anything proper, so they didn't.
Yeah, it really shows their infrastructure was decimated for 12 hours straight. It took them that long to recuperate, get people in place, new command units. I mean, any other military in the world would be able to immediately bounce back from something like that, but it took them 12 hours.
A few months ago, Israel has launched a strike on Iran. In that strike, Israel has eliminated their factories where they build those ballistic missiles, and Israel eliminated their anti-plane system, like all the radars and everything to shoot down planes. And Israel said, we prepared the ground for our bigger strike. And last night, Israel time, 3 whenever Israel started launching this attack on Iran, Israeli planes were flying across Tehran's skies with nobody bothering them, not a single missile being shot at them for quite a few hours.
Yeah, I've seen videos of like how slow their equipment is. I saw a Israeli jet flying away from an interceptor, and the missile is like half its speed.
Those are F-35s though.
Yeah, the F-35, amazing technology. Su-39 from the Soviet era stuff.
You know, the biggest issue and the biggest advantage Israeli Air Force has over the Iranian Air Force is even if the Russians actually did give them all those planes, you need to fly those planes for quite some time to know how to actually operate it in its best way. And the fact that they got those planes 6 months ago, 1 year ago from Russia, doesn't make them experts in how to use it. And all those advantages that this thing should bring your army. While Israeli army, I think Israeli Air Force is known for its quality and so.
Well, I mean, once they're flying Chinese jets, then we're good. Like, it's the Chinese jets that are up to par. Everything else is below par to the S-35 and S-47. F-47, I should say.
I just think that you can't compare the two. They rely on ballistic program, and this did collapse on their head. Israel has eliminated all of their commanders of the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, and the leadership of the army within the first 2 hours of this strike. And all of their nuclear program scientists, 20 of them, 15 of them.
Well, you know, I'll say Donald Trump is trying to distance himself, and that's a question for me. How does he do that when we ourselves launched a strike that killed General Soleimani? We have taken part in it.
I think America is on board from the beginning, and it was all one big grand plan to make Iran really think and believe that there is no chance Israel or America or both of the countries are going to actually launch a strike on Iran in the coming time.
Did you not see his Twitter when he said something about 60 days? Well,
yesterday was the 61st day.
Yeah.
But it's not only that, Prime Minister Netanyahu's son was supposed to get married this Monday. If you ask me, he's already been married. And this was the whole thing was a part of the plan. Then, what's his name? The American guy that went to the Middle East, Witkoff, what is his name? He was supposed to come in and have a meeting with the Israeli leadership on Sunday. So, nobody saw that shit coming. Or at least that's what they wanted to tell the world. Then, yesterday, or 2 days ago, the biggest general in the Israeli army, there were reports when he told the Israeli leadership that Israel cannot do it on its own, that if the IDF is not capable of attacking Iran on its own, that we should either do it, we don't have the capabilities to do it, and we will have to have America with us. We can't do it alone. The next thing you know, Israel is doing that.
Yeah.
So
it's a part of the plan. America wants people to fall asleep and think, oh, okay, so America is not with Israel like we thought. Israel is weaker, and that's it. But basically, there's a lot of things that's going on behind the stage, behind the scene. I think there is a big plan for Trump and Bibi. Something we don't know.
Okay, just Fox said two Navy U.S. naval ships are in the Mediterranean already.
God bless America.
Yeah, so they get them aircraft carriers over there.
Yeah.
They've already been there, that's the thing. They've already been there.
You're right. I mean, we protect the Suez Canal year-round with an aircraft carriers.
And even the White House came out last night and said that they had full knowledge of Israel going to attack Iran, so some,
Well,
you know, the
I
U.S.
definitely knew because a week ago Donald Trump was in Camp David, and he's like, we're meeting with all the generals. All the generals will be there, the best people, the best generals. And I'm like, what are you meeting with the generals for in the middle of this LA riot stuff? That I don't see what the generals have to do with the riot. Something else is going on. And then
Donald Trump played a big part. He played a big part. He made them think that all these negotiations were gonna happen and shit. And there was supposed to be like a general that was supposed to go to Israel a couple days ago, and he ended up canceling his trip. So they knew about it way in advance, bro.
Yeah, because when they go to Camp David, that's to meet about military shit. That's not just like a regular camp. That's a serious place, a retreat for the president to go to meet world heads of state, et cetera, to lead war. But when he went there, I knew something.
Yeah. I think that this whole diversion tactics, they did very well. And in the coming days, you saw there was like talks about like cyber attack all through the Middle East, and you know, talks about a reconnaissance, U.S. reconnaissance aircraft like flying over Iran. So yeah, you know, this was planned, man, and definitely in coordination with the United States. They're not gonna ever come out and say that.
Well, I know one thing that happened at the same time that when Tel Aviv launched or not Tel Aviv, but Israel launched their attack on Iran to destroy the thing. A lot of the Amazon Web Services got down temporarily for about 35 minutes as that attack happened. So there's obviously, like you said, massive coordination that happened, not just like with the president, but I'm guessing even like on web services, probably to protect from cyber attack, like you just said. But they did. They shut down nearly 80% of the Amazon Web Services, which is most of the internet that you have, and paused it for like 35 minutes. DoorDash, credit cards. For 35 minutes, everything was down. But it's the middle of the night for us, so it didn't do too much. Not the middle of the night, toward the end of the night. I forget. But yeah, it was like the exact same time. So like you're saying, the coordination, there's definitely massive that happened. He was at Camp David. I just wonder what happens next. I doubt that Kamani, how do you pronounce his name? I doubt he's even still in Iran.
No, it's for sure in Iran. And if you ask me if this thing is going to last long, and we're actually going to a full war with Iran, we're probably going to get him killed. Like he's going to stay in power indefinitely, because we're going to. Israel has stated already earlier today that if Iran is going to try and play actual big games with Israel, Israel is going to bomb their oil production facilities and make their whole economy collapse. They produce 10% of the world oil and gas. So they have the same, close to the same amount as Russia has the international market. So they have a lot to lose. I don't think this guy is going to play the big game he's talking. He talks a big game, but he will take them down with him.
The attack of yesterday was planned right after the Second Lebanon War. It was planned. Like the beepers, same. It's been planned for.
Waiting for the right moment to do it. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, but they planned it since 2006.
They said that they were days away from obtaining nuclear weapons in Iran, so this is,
you know, too, yeah.
Yeah. Israel knew what they were doing.
Mossad did really good groundwork there also lately.
They did amazing work there. It's historical. Like no other country in the world is gonna do what Israel just did last night.
The problem is that the whole fucking world is afraid of Iran, knowing that if they get the news, they will be able to fuck everyone with it. Still, nobody's gonna do anything.
Dude, not only did they not do anything, Dan, they fucking condemned Israel. Saudi Arabia came down and condemned Israel. They're the ones that are most afraid of Iran. And then they're gonna come out and condemn them for fucking protecting them? Like, it's the most disgusting shit I've seen. And all these countries are a bunch of pussies, man.
I think the Saudis intend to rule Iran once it does collapse, and they want to stay friendly with their people, pretend like they're going to be this, you know, distant arbiter that's disconnected from Israel, but they still have friendly relations.
Yeah, fuck them, honestly. Fuck them and fuck all the other countries that came out and condemned it. They're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. And Israel just did the world a big favor. So.
Oh the biggest favor in the past, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know.
Yeah, they need to be taking Israel.
They went from something very bad. Not to mention Iranian missiles, or a majority of European cities are within the Iranian missiles range. So,
Yeah, a nuke is not just dangerous on a missile, it's dangerous anyway. If they take it and smuggle it into a country nearby, it's just as dangerous.
Definitely. They did the Middle East a fucking big favor, and these fucking Arabs better be fucking thanking Israel one day instead of condemning them today. Like, it's the most stupid shit I've ever seen. I really don't understand it.
Last night, Jordan helped Israel intercept the explosive drones. They sent like 150 drones from Iran towards Israel, and Jordan Air Force was actively shooting them down alongside Israel. So they know exactly whose side they should take, and they're actively doing it, showing it to everyone. So yeah, Saudi or whoever else can come and condemn Israel's actions, but once shit's gonna go down, people are not gonna stick to Iran, especially not after what happened last night.
We know the
Saudi
Saudis.
collapsed.
The Saudis is another big one, like you were saying a minute ago. When it comes to Iran and terror attacks, Saudi Arabia is the one that gets the most terror attacks out of anybody else. They're the ones that get attacked more by Iran than all the rest of us by proxies. So it's like, they should be involved. They're the ones that were also at threat of a nuclear attack. Not just Israel. They also want to destroy the site.
That's why I was shocked to see that they condemned Israel for doing that. I mean, I was shocked, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked, you know, because they wanna keep the rhetoric that Israel is the genociders, that they go and they attack people and kill innocent babies and women and children and blah 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 blah. They can't go against the narrative, right? It make them look stupid. And then the whole world will come out and say that Saudi are simps for Zionists. That's what they'll say. You know? They're Zionist sympathizers. It's all bullshit tactics. You know, behind doors, the prince of fucking Saudis calling that together. Thank you so much. Whatever, you want free oil, we'll give you free oil. Thank you. You know?
100% right.
Bunch of fucking hypocrites.
1000% correct. Saudi is celebrating since last night.
Of course, man. Of
They're
course.
the largest celebrating, I guarantee it. They're the most at threat, second to Israel. It goes
Not
Israel,
only
Saudi
that,
Arabia.
they will now sell double the amount of oil they usually do because Israel is gonna fuck Iran.
The funny thing is that even in Iran itself, there's so many people who are celebrating.
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm exhausted. I sweat like animal.
Well, no, like what you said about them celebrating in Iran. I remember the video of Soleimani when he was killed. That guy ran up with the camera and he's pointing it at the car and he's going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it! They finally did it. They killed this dog." And it's one of the people of Iran looking at Soleimani's dog.
So after last night, they're celebrating in the streets. A lot of people are celebrating.
Yeah,
Iranian people coming here to our room and telling us, "Thank you so much. We're so happy." You know, all day, like since morning, they just don't stop coming to our rooms and thanking us. It's crazy.
Oye, ¿la pesa patrona?
But what's up? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. לא יודעת, לא זוכרת.
איזה חוף, משהו יפה, איזה חמוד.
כן, כן, זה באשדוד.
חמוד. איזה הזיה.
כן,
יהיו בריאים. איזה יופי. הייתי שמח בחיים עכשיו להסתכל על זה.
תודה.
פתאום מופיע, ואמא שלי פתאום מופיע זה בתמונה שלך.
Rapper, you're out of the shelter?
Yeah, I'm in my living room now. My parents. It was the first wave was a shitty wave, you know. Others were great, but the first one was the falling and stuff, and it was very close. So we heard it like very, very close. But I'm waiting for the Iranian people. I always say Iranian are losers. They were born time they realize we did half of the job, and now it's their turn to make the other half. But you don't see anything, go and fight, take guns, and kill some IRGC. Nothing.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. We already know that.
I love that he's chilling on his couch and he's just like telling the people of Iran, go do it, go finish the job, you motherfuckers. Like badass shit. I love it. We did half the job. We blew him the fuck up. It's your turn. That's exactly fucking right.
The thing is, I've been saying this for the last 24 hours now. Israel gave them the sword to go in and cut the fucking head off of the snake, or the dragon, whatever you want to call it, and I don't think they're gonna do it, bro. I really don't think so. I don't see it happening.
They're pussies. They're pussies.
Exactly.
They're not gonna do it. Mao just got tired of them whenever they come to our room now. So he gets angry and say, why do we need to do the job for you, you fucking motherfuckers? You go and do it yourself. Just leave us
The
alone.
problem is that we keep expecting the people of the Middle East, the Muslim people, to rule themselves. They have always had an occupation to rule upon them, an empire to rule upon them. And that's what the IRGC currently is that imperial force that rules upon them. And that's what they want. They desire it. So that's what they need. The problem is we don't want to offer it, so it's impossible. I'm not sure what the solution actually is. We gotta give it to the Saudi.
אז מה שאמרתי, זה מה שאמרתי להם עכשיו.
יש פה ישראלים שבאים, אתה מבין?
מה הם רוצים להגיד לנו? מי זה?
גם שנים כבר אנחנו שומעים את הספרים האלה, האיראנים הפרסים.
לא יכול לספור אותם.
אני אומר, תקשיב,
אנחנו היום כאילו בעלייה לרגל, כולם מה שקרה.
אני אומר, תקשיב, יש לי רעיון מדהים. נפתח את, אתה רוצה צחוקים? נפתח חדר, נרשום מי זה על ורסס האיראן, one at a time. ונהיה כולנו חבר'ה, ונשאר הצבא, וכל פעם נעלה רק אחד, אחי. רגע, אתה
ויותר מזה,
נהרוס לו את הראש
אתה רוצה להטריל אותם בכותרת?
תטריל, תעשה מה
אפשר לעשות איזה כותרת של...
רק תעשו לי טובה שלא יצאו לחדר אמריקאי שמדבר, אין לי כבר כוח בזה.
לא, אני לא מבין.
לא, אני חושב אתה מבין מה הם עושים, הם באים להתחיל לדבר לך על פוליטיקה אמריקאית, הם מרגישים בנוח, להתחיל לדבר על סדרות,
פוליטיקה בסקס.
פוליטיקה אמריקאית, כל מיני דברים כאלה. זה לא רק בעיה. לכו לחדר אחר, תעשו את זה. כאילו לא היום.
שוברים את השיניים, או גם לילה, מאוחר, די, אין לנו פה.
די, אתה יודע, לא בא לנו כל היום לדבר אנגלית, אנחנו כל היום פה מדבר אנגלית. הניכוסים שלהם האמריקאים.
10 שנים כבר אני מדבר.
רק את הניכוס, לא הכי נורמלי פה.
רק לדניקוס.
ודוידה.
ודוידה.
דני וג'יין.
היי דוידה.
Hello
everyone. What about me? לא כוס אמא שלי.
אתה בסדר.
Harry, you understand more. I do, okay? I'm trying my best. I'm doing my Duolingo with my penciler courses, okay? So I understand just a little bit, not a lot. Penciler?
I understand the nouns. Pretty much nothing else.
Penciler, yeah. Akon teaches Hebrew classes on here. Is he here?
Eitan also teaches to be a lefty. That's also what he did. To make peace with Palestinian.
Fuck that.
Ani Etza Ivrit. That's all I know right now for the moment.
מעולה.
I can teach you something. Say, אני אוהבת בולבול גדול.
Very funny.
בצורה מדויקת לדימונה ולקריה. שמע ישראל. אסתר.
Two were seriously injured among 20.
יש לו חוטים ברמת גן.
איפה זה נפל ברמת גן?
אני לא יודע.
אתה יודע איפה? אני יודע איפה זה פגע
אתה מצליח לזהות. תל אביב אני יודע, אבל אני לא מצליח לזהות ברמת גן.
אתה יודע איפה זה בתל אביב?
כן,
זה בבית שלך.
לא, אבל אני אגיד לך בדיוק.
כיכר רבין.
לא.
צייטלי.
לא, שני מגדלים, פגע במגדל.
פגע במגדל? איזה מגדל?
איפה שזאת רגע?
צייר איטלקי. אל תגיד את זה.
אוקיי, הבנתי.
אתה יודע מה, דוחים את השניים האלה אחד ליד השני?
כן, וואלה. האמת זה ממש קרוב לתמונות. האמת זה, כן, זה הדבר ההגיוני לפי התמונות. זה קטע, כמעט קטעתי לראות בעניין הזה פעם, שזה היה בנייר. זה לא היה לי כסף. בדמיונות שלי רציתי לקנות דירה בבניין הזה.
אז אתה פגע בבניין עצמו?
פגע בבניין.
לא, לדעתי זה ליד.
לא, בבניין. אני שואל לך עכשיו סרטון, חכה.
ברמת גן אני לא יודע איפה.
מה זה?
אני לא מזהה את המקום. למשל יש לפודים, זה מגדל.
גם ברמת גן?
ברמת גן, במגדל ברמת גן יש לפודים.
וואו.
כן, במקומות הבאות זה מגדל. אז במקומות הבאות אני אגדיר.
וואי, זה מפריע.
It's crazy. There's a Democratic senator in America that's calling for the U.S. to give Israel anything it needs in support of its assault against Iran.
Is that
Crazy.
Senator Fetterman?
Yeah, it's crazy that he's a Democrat thing.
Fetterman's the only logical one.
Harry, you have anyone today in the, I would say, the leadership of America who have any sympathy to Iran? Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
ראיתי את הווידאו הזה. הווידאו הזה זה רמת גן, אבל זה לא... שנייה, הווידאו הזה זה רמת גן, זה לא תל אביב. אתה טועה. זה איפה שיש לחודים עכשיו ברמת גן, זה הבניין הזה.
כן?
כן, זה לא רמת גן.
אוקיי, אז אני יודע איפה זה. בסדר, לא, מי שלחה לי עכשיו זה מסתדר, נכון.
Did something hit in Ramat Gan?
Yes.
Is that the building you were talking about before?
That's right. People
People are trapped.
Two severely injured. Out of plan in a woman.
What do they mean by severely injured, though? Like, how bad is the injuries? Do you know?
No. They say, in Hebrew, they say, I'm not sure I translate.
Critical?
קשה.
No.
אומרים קשה.
It's like easy.
No. Easy?
Critical is they're going to die.
I don't know what's like that. It's the third level. קל, בינוני, קשה.
יש לנו קריטי.
Yeah, critical.
Critical.
Yeah, that sounds like
They're critical to the worst.
Yeah, critical זה אנוש.
How do we triage while we land?
What?
Triage. Triage?
I don't know that.
What about triage? Triage an emergency room, right?
That's how they sort people.
Nathan Khan. Because of Nathan.
They call me evil.
You see, I say the name and they come. That's what happens. I do that.
Who comes?
I mentioned you, Eitan.
Nathan is Spanish, I don't think what the British.
The hard, seriously injured. This is how it goes to the US.
Serious? Is it more critical?
Alright, so serious is not necessarily life-threatening, but treatable.
Yeah.
Get me
It's
to
like
the
broken
drop.
legs, broken arms, broken bone.
So people in my village weapon group, they're asking if the windows are smashed because they're worried about their cats.
So what about where you are? You
באיראן. אוקיי. אנחנו מדברים על נפילות פה בארץ, פתאום אומרים את זה, חשבתי שאולי באחד הנפילות היו.
כאן העשרה גרעינית שפגענו באיראן, יש לכלוך רדיואקטיבי.
אוקיי.
יש אינדיקציות לכלוך רדיואקטיבי.
היי חברים.
מה שבאמה.
איפה, אינסטגרם?
למה הם צורכים פה משוגעים מאחורה?
Rate me on a scale from 1 to 10, but first, take a
זה
good
צרחה
look.
רצינית שם.
What? Why 3? That was rude.
לי.
כן.
Holy shit. What the hell was that yelling? Is that somebody yelling that's making the video?
It's not yelling, it's moaning. Moaning?
Oh
What
my
do you
god.
say?
Yeah.
Moaning.
אבל לא זה, הוא לא מבינים אותך. It looks like July 4th. It's crazy.
חנה, ראית סרטון?
ישן, אני רואה.
Originally, in the first script, we didn't have any dialogue in It looks like he was an animated character throughout the picture. But then we rewrote the script that really had quite a bit of dialogue for explanatory reasons. And so we used a real-life Neil McCarthy, who had a very strong face as a basis, and Colin Arthur put glasses makeup on him to make him look like the small character that was animated. It was very important that there was an alteration between the animated character and the
What he's saying is that, like, if you're coming in,
action with the animated character, so that you actually saw this animated creature with a tail and a cloven hoof.
I asked you, are you still seeing the,
And that was quite a difficult
are you
scene
still seeing things flying
to
over
match
where you are?
every frame, so that it looked like they were struggling in the smoke.
Missiles on Israel. I will not see anything.
Yeah, I have both Iran and Israel feed up at the same time. I'm trying to watch both countries. I'm expecting that Israel probably will retaliate. I don't see why they.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even start yet. Let me tell you that.
Oh no, it's just the beginning of the operation. They're about to find out. It's FAFO.
Oh, yeah.
Iran today in the morning they said that they're going to announce that this is a war. They didn't do it yet.
Like World War III or war Iran on Israel like it hasn't been?
Israel, Iran, I don't know, just a war.
And that's part of my
I was wondering if this war starts, does this count as World War III, or do we need one more participant country? Is it like it, or is it that?
No, it's not going to be World War III. If it's only Israel and Iran, no, but I'm sure that there's going to be a bigger mess.
Like what?
So
Who do you think is going to get involved?
More countries, more countries. Arab countries, then they will go against each other and then against us, and it's going to be a mess. This is going to be a third war.
مش متوقع مش نعمل نخيل شمعون إيران بحط من 100 كيلو وبعمل يوتيوب.
I mean, it's Pakistan, India, Iran, Israel, Ukraine, Russia. I'm not sure. I mean, that's a large warfront line that goes from north to south.
A lot more than
Come, say it again.
India, Pakistan, Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine. So that's a line that goes 1,000 miles south, just a warfront.
There's much more than that.
People busy, there's no nuclear weapons involved in this thing, so, or nuclear warheads at least.
If it's not World War III, then if World War III does happen, this will be the beginning of World War III. So it determines if we have it or not. Is this it?
Australia and New Zealand.
There is much more wars that in the world going on right now that you're not aware of. In Africa, there's so many, and
like having Axis powers and, NATO allies.
Well, Israel and Palestine is also a conflict that became a war, so everything can happen. I believe that this is the beginning of the third war. Definitely. Mark my words.
Yeah, I think once China and the U.S. get involved, that's it. That's determination at that point.
I live on an island. I think I live on an island. At this point.
שמתי במקרה שאתה רוצה להיות באוזניים, ופתאום נהיה לי כזה, לא שמעתי את הסביבה שלי, אז חשבתי שהלך לי החשמל. אוי, גל, הכל פתאום. זה מלמד אותך. למה, אני יודעת, אני אעשה.
לא שתית, אורליה.
מים.
שאתה וויסקי.
יותר מדי.
לא שתיתי כלום היום. איפה מאור? איפה אמנון?
אני פה. איך אני לראות את זה מרחוק?
תשמע, ראיתי את זה בשמיים, אתה יודע. רואים את זה, כן.
לא, ממש, סימסתי שראית את זה.
כן, אחי, ראיתי פתאום שהיו קפיצים בשמיים. תראה, בוא, אני אתן את זה מאוד קל, כן? בפעם הקודמת שהם ירו, אני יודע, באפריל, זה היה, הייתי באיזה מקום על החוף, עם חברים, וראינו את הטילים האלה יורדים לכיוון ישראל.
What, James?
אז אחרי כמה דקות, פתאום אני רואה...
They're the ones that are funding, and they're the ones that are telling Qatar to go fund the Hamas.
I'm talking about Hezbollah.
Yeah, no, I don't think they want a regime change in Iran, because so long as that regime is there, they use it to convince the Saudis to like team up together or whatever the fuck. They use it as like the boogeyman in the area.
Yes, it's a good argument, but I think they would be pushing for like a sort of collapse of that regime at least. Yeah, in the same sense they did it to Saddam. Saddam was
Saddam was a genuine threat.
Saddam was no genuine threat.
Yes, he was.
I don't think Iran is a genuine threat to the Arabs in general, but no, I do generally believe.
No, to Israel, not to the Arabs.
No, yeah, to the Israelis, they are also a threat to some extent, not as much as Saddam. But nevertheless, they want to see a collapse of that state, which they see is actually highly, in some sense, in contrast to many of the Arab countries, actually doing something, like in terms of nuclear energy, in terms of science, in terms of weapon, making weapons and whatnot.
Yeah, but they don't want an actual regime change. They just want the regime to be in power.
Want a regime, then they made it very clear to America multiple times that yes, we want regime change in Iran. They want.
I don't believe.
And they wanted, but Adam, they also wanted to happen through like in a certain destructive way. Yeah, they basically they would appreciate a civil war happening in Iran, or essentially appreciate the minorities seeking independence from Iran, especially the ones in Ahwaz, for example, the Arabs and whatnot, or the Azeris, because those areas are very, very rich in resources and contain some of the important nuclear sites for Iran. So these are things that Israel would kind of dream about, because that would mean weakening Iran to a great extent that they would just forget about like trying to rival Israel or trying to like develop weapons and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but then you lose your boogeyman. How do you keep the Khalijis on your side?
Because the U.S. puts them in line to Khalijis need America far more than America needs them.
Yeah, that's true, but the Khalijis won't need America as much without Iraq there.
Yes, but regardless, the fact is, if you get
can spend as much on the military. They can spend more on developing their own infrastructure. This is all bad for Israel.
Yeah, but as long as they just develop infrastructure, right?
I'm talking about like nuclear infrastructure as well.
Oh, okay. I mean, yes, but if that were the case, it would probably be just. I mean, this is really Israel's end goal. This is the only way it can survive. Regime change after regime change after regime change. So, the real question with Israel: how long is the American public willing to fund regime change after regime change after regime change? Are they willing to do it forever? I say probably not.
I think they have 2 more generations at the most.
Maybe even this whole extreme reaction is not really anything on the Iranian side is extreme. They're not really going to do much more than they've always done. It's the Israeli reaction that's extreme because they feel that their time is ticking. That the days of America supporting regime change after regime change might soon be numbered, if even they already.
I mean, it's true. I still think that they want to keep the Iranian regime in charge. They just want them severely beaten. So not being able to do certain things, but still be around to at least pretend to be a threat to the Gulf, like Phoenicia.
They'll just create another threat.
The thing is too.
What's the other show? Ahmed al-Shara, yani? I mean, yeah, maybe Turkey, but Turkey is harder to create a threat out of because they're a NATO country.
They're a NATO, yeah. The thing is too, the reason why Israel's not going full out war and destroying the.
E a velha é a fórmula para fazer o relacionamento, tá certo? Eu acho que tem.
As black people.
Oh, so what they all here?
What are we gonna take another 400? Created a situation of warfare where you are literally violating these people's civil rights.
No, non te quito yo el teléfono. So those you start. Oh shit, I know. Don't tell me out here. As when you started talking, oh my god, turn your music, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, she started shouting to you.
I'm such an idiot.
מקצועית.
סטייה אותי? אני כאילו לא יודעת מה זה סטייה, סורי על המהות. כן, אתה דיברת עליי, לא?
לא, דיבר על ג'יילו.
ג'יילו?
למה אתה עובד עם שוק אמריקאי?
לא.
יש לך אומץ, יש לנו חלוט על אמריקה. לא, ירוס, מה קרה? שזה משחק בגלל כל הזמן אתה רוצה לשחק 10:52 בלילה כפרה? מה השיגעון? A Frenchie that woke up and wants to play, he doesn't care about anything. Up until not too long ago, we had 2 dogs. I don't know if it was already did that. They're moving back. And he's pulled the stock on the dog. יש 2 כלבים. אחד מהם כבר המשיך חזרה בארץ.
disappeared, but I went on your profile and I just clicked hit message, so it opened it. Oh, for sure.
So, Jada, just so you know, you sound very professional.
You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked to hear me at my job.
What do you do, bro?
Give us an
Show us your voice. Give us the example.
I can't. I can't give myself away.
No, I'm not saying what you do. I'm just saying, you know how we have to put on that other voice?
Said, hey, how you doing today? Thanks for giving me a call. I was looking over your profile and I thought, you look like a really professional person. I'm just paraphrasing here, so I don't give it away.
No, don't talk to me.
So yeah, do you have a little bit of time today to get on a phone call? We can, talk a little bit more and, yeah, not a problem. How's it going? Oh yeah.
selling the insurance?
I do that when I go to conferences. I wear a different personality.
You have to.
Yeah, oh yeah. You go to conferences, they just, as soon as I'm about to walk in, just like in my profile photo, I put the head back and I high five my business partner. I'm like, okay, let's get it on, and that's it.
I was saying the mayor of my town, I know him personally. Like we were playing, we had a poker game at the shul, and I sat next to him.
Poker game at the shul.
Yeah, well, for charity. So this guy comes over. And says, "Excuse me, are you the mayor?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I have a complaint." I go, "Oh shit, the guy's trying to play cards." He goes, "Yeah, how can I help you? I am the mayor." He goes, "Well, during the Sandy storm, I had no electricity." So the mayor whispers in my ear. He goes, "What does he think? I'm God? I didn't have electricity either." Right? But he has such a different voice in person, and then you see him on TV giving these mayor speeches, and he sounds like J.F. Kennedy. He's like, "Oh, welcome today." I'm like, wait, that's not the voice I play cards with.
Yeah, it's a completely different person.
Yeah.
We come in shorts.
To play cards?
Yeah.
Does he come in shorts, you said?
Yeah.
No, he actually
Or anywhere. When he's professional life.
Yes, but on TV he looks like he's a professional politician.
Right, that's fair. It's just.
But even a different voice. It's like, I'm talking to the same person. I'm like, wait, he's like human when I speak to him, and now he's,
It's formal politician and has to speak in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, certain voice, you're right.
If you go to the hood, they will say, "Oh, you're speaking like a white person."
Yeah. Oh, that just happened in a room. I was fighting with two Arab guys, and a few minutes ago in another room, and they were like, "You're so white. Do you want to suck my toes?" And I said, "No. Go on Google, and you can Google suck my toes and go pay for it, motherfucker."
What the
One lady got in critical condition on her way to the hospital, medicine hospital. They're fighting for her life. One lady got injured in critical condition.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there was one building that got hit, and there were people that the thing collapsed on the 10th-story building. And they don't say. Well, they do say where it is. Give me a second. But this building partially collapsed. So they have people trapped in. And they were hit.
I don't want to say the city that it's in, but I think it's the same city that we saw the other damage in. We saw
I'm trying to think.
3 missiles come down there.
Yeah. It's that area for sure.
It's my own area. It's where he lives. I mean, not this specific place.
I say if you can just share his location in the chat.
No, I'm just saying this is his city.
J-Lo.
The city is from.
The problem and the solution once again.
So I'm going to say just like the tariffs. Hold on, Finley. Hold on. So I'm going to say this. So I don't know if you guys have seen the news, but this one's amazing me that people that haven't did in Houston, well, in Texas in general, they protest against in some of these places of the arrest, like people saying, oh no, you can't do that because people can't distinguish FBI and fucking all these other agencies from ICE, and they don't know what the fuck is going on. But they did this in Houston. It's one of the largest sting operations ever, and they caught it, and there's going to be some jail time, and there's more people to get arrested from it. Hats off to the men and women who worked that case. Now, what's ironic is there was 108 kids saved. 108 kids saved. Out of those kids, a large percentage were, guess what? Smuggled across the fucking border. So these kids were used as sex toys while your bleeding heart is like, oh, the poor kid in the court had to go through a translator with headphones on. I'm going to say, yeah, there's still about 300,000 kids missing in this fucking country that we're aware of were smuggled over the border. And we're still trying to find them. We've got 108. You care, like, how else do you want the courts, people that want to deal with this? The kid had a translator on. The judge was talking through it. He had headphones on so that he could speak to the translator and understand what was being communicated back. And the kids do have to answer questions because, unfortunately, and this is going to, case in point, we have a problem in this country where we have degenerates that are allowed to go out there and purchase a fucking child from across the border as if they're ordering a burrito from fucking Taco Bell.
We're on the same team, Brad. I just want to say, yeah, we're on the same team, baby. I hear you because the two things can be right at the same time. In this case, we're on the same team, you know?
Yeah,
Sorry.
my heart ain't bleeding for criminals, right? I'm talking about workers. I was talking about workers.
Exactly.
I'm also talking about families. Like, I understand that there's child traffickers, and I'm not talking about them. I'm making a distinction, right? The target, which it should be, violent criminals, which includes a trafficker is a violent criminal. But if you are going to people's work sites where they are working and round them up for work, like, them people ain't criminals. Criminals ain't going to work. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna use the same appeal to emotion that you did, Brad, against you. You ready? No, I'm doing this in a joking manner. I'm doing this in a joking
manner. At Home Depot with their rent, because the ones that did get rounded up, you'd actually be surprised, because guess what? They actually helped him to finding out where these kids were. So that's where you're like, I'm sitting here laughing at this because those tips and those arrests are actually leading to further charges.
Exactly.
So
I'm gonna do this in a joking manner. Remember, this administration is hiding sex traffickers because of the Epstein list. So the bleeding heart that the Republicans have about catching these sex traffickers and child traffickers are not applying the same logic when they're talking about their president in chief. Circular reasoning, like no one here would ever be in the defense of, well, actually,
okay, so let's talk about it. You had an administration that wanted to fucking use the RICO Act in Georgia that made
They kicked me from the Israeli room. It's kind of funny. It's like I'm hated by everybody.
YouTube or anything like that, because that would be like.
I don't like gay, like,
well,
like, I prefer, like, informally, like, that he's come here to talk to you about the thing.
Hey, guy!
Even in your room, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm down to have like a more low-key thing, like just talking about it.
Yeah. No, generally, you know what it is? Generally, I don't see competent so people have the discussion. So I'll probably have to wait.
Yeah, me neither. It's usually like chemistry.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're like usually bringing up these underdetermination.
This is true. Wait, where's Andrew? Oh fuck, look at him running. I wanna wait. No, free me! Free me, that's my feeling! It's so mean! So mean, free him!
When I joined the high-end HBD Discord, I was like, yo, I need like a one-page document that just like has all the information, all the like, and they're like, oh, yo, got you, bro.
antithesis to like, a single proposition.
Okay, ready? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
He was asking me.
Science, bitch. I'm big on numbers. So
When she was big on your phone reception.
about
Now would be like a good time to have the burner account or the
Israel has been
anonymous.
killing Palestinians for decades upon decades. Whatever. And then, Hamas was created because of the killing of Palestinians by Israelis. So, oh well. I mean, I don't know what you. It's so.
I'm gonna try to
So
get a new
one-sided. It absolutely was.
with no friends and in anonymous mode.
And what Jews have been killing non-Jews. What are you talking about? Jihadists. Let's talk about what's happening in
See if
Israel
I can
and
get
Palestine.
Google
Let's be for
Google
real.
Voice never works.
Let's be for real. Even when freaking Spain didn't even want y'all asses there, Muslims didn't even kick y'all out of freaking Antiochus. Okay, let's be for real. Okay? Some people have actually shown a bit of mercy. Jews would not be worshiping in Jerusalem if it wasn't for the Treaty of Omar, which was a Muslim. Let's be for real. Y'all was getting persecuted by Christians and Persians. Be for real. Be for real. Go look at it. Jews used to get persecuted in Jerusalem. They couldn't worship anything. They couldn't worship their religion freely. They're only able to do that based on the Treaty of Omar. Muslims were a minority, but they took over Andalusia. Al-Andalus before. Before the Reconquista. So,
Google
if they
voice
were a
number
minority,
voicemail
then they
worked.
took it
Wow.
over. So what? And Jews and Muslims were not kicked out at the same time. Jews were definitely kicked out. Muslims were forced more south. Eventually.
Oh, it's set up in English.
Just go and check out the, go and check out the
That's
history.
a Google voicemail number.
I'm not trying to be nobody's apologist, jihadist. Sometimes we're friends, sometimes we're well, what's happening right now? Let's be for real. So, come on, just stop with all of what you're talking about. Because, see, you guys brought up these points, and now I'm bringing up these points. Now all of a sudden, okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking, keep it on Israel and Palestine, then. So, because then y'all don't have no nothing. Not by you guys, come on. Wow, jihadists is a nitty.
Okay, here we go, Chris. 355 358 355 358. We're gonna call this account anonymous. Is that a good name? What should we think? What do you want to call it? Anonymous mode.
Palestinian people were created in 1970 is crazy.
No, you didn't.
That is oils.
culture that, you remember it's like a requirement. They go back to Israel. They call it birthright. You know what I mean? Imagine you calling certain things like a trip back to this land. You know what I mean? Birthright. It's your birthright. Like imagine like the crap that they have that they have been things that have been drilled in their head for years upon years upon years. It's like it's like I see why like literally brainwash the crap out of them. But a lot of people have actually been brainwashed. It's fair. And look at this. You can literally shove so much crap in their face and show them. You know what I mean? That this is what happens. Palestinians were created in the 1970s. Huh?
Somewhat arguing.
Imagine how like that is so ridiculously inaccurate. It's so easy to just know that you can't even. It's like how could you even say something that's stupid?
Okay, we're in Amir's house now, in anonymous mode.
He asked my opinion, and I told him my opinion.
Thank you for sharing your speech. I don't know, because if Russia joins, and if any of these, nations join, America would be finished. You know why? Because Russia has 4,400 warheads, Sapien.
So the secret is not to look at their profiles, otherwise they can see your profile. I fucked that up last time. So this time, remind myself. Never get interested in somebody and look at their fucking profile, because they will figure out how to speak. So we're gonna create a new room. It's called Amir.
And their equipment is cheaper than American equipment. So the defense system that Russia supplies, I looked into it, it was about 800 million. Versus America, the TAT system that they gave to Israel, it costed the taxpayers almost $1.2 billion. Plus the extra for training and a whole bunch of other shit to Israel. You see what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
But what's the likelihood of Russia doing that though? But they're not going to launch a bunch
So-
of inside America. That would be a side mission.
They don't have to launch nuke. I'm saying if they were to supply them weapons, including China.
And I'm gonna take a photo of his room. It's gonna trip him out. It's gonna be a photo of the room.
Recent attack, India used the France airplane, the fighter jets, to attack Pakistan. And Pakistan used J-16 Chinese jets or whatever to shoot them down. You see what I'm saying? So their technology is a little bit behind. American technology and the France and European technology is kind of behind. And China can mass produce just like Russia can. So if they were to give them weapons, I think that would be the problematic for America.
But I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't know.
It's looking like it might turn into World War III. If it does, we're gonna have a recession, and Iran will attack the oil reserves. That's gonna, the oil prices that we pay in America. What is it, like $4 right now? $4.50 per gallon in California. It's gonna go up to about $10, I think, or $8 per gallon.
Ooh, child. I'm gonna start walking then.
Just buy yourself an electric scooter. And even because of the tariffs, the prices are going to go up on the electric scooters as well. Because of the stupid tariffs that, Trump has implemented. But, you're a Kamala supporter. Point, he's a Kamala supporter. Sapien is a Kamala supporter.
Yes, I am.
Do you know Kamala? I think it's Point said yesterday is because of the Gaza war. That's why Kamala did not win.
That's definitely why. That's definitely not why she didn't win.
Yeah, that's why. Point,
It has to, like, literally, and this is gonna sound so simplistic, but the Democrats lost because of the overly woke agenda, the overly politically correct language, the talking down to men. I mean, in their immigration policy, Americans back in the election, Palestine, what was going on, wasn't a major factor in people's decision, because most Americans are apathetic to what goes on in the Middle East. Of course, you have college students and some that are protesting or whatever, but the
there's a big chance. I mean, I would have voted for Kamala even if she would have done like 5 days, 10 days ceasefire. It would have showed the pro-patties all around America that she has the balls to do this.
Nicole Bigley. Sorry, this girl Nicole was talking shit in the chat.
So, that's the thing, and it did play a role, man, because who wants to kill babies?
Look at what they got with Trump. Trump got elected, and then Israel was still killing babies.
I did not vote for Trump.
I know, but you have to look at the lesser of two evils. That's what presidential elections are. People don't like to acknowledge that.
Okay, how do you punish? Okay, let me ask you this: how would they punish Kamala?
How would they? What do you mean? Who?
Okay, Kamala, she was a vice president. You agree?
Yeah.
The top 4 positions, in the Congress, one of them is vice president above Secretary of State, right? But she could have influenced.
Son, this guy is streaming your room.
Who?
The what's his name? That Dodge comedy guy must be the anonymous guy.
Must be the anonymous guy. Okay.
Remove him.
Got your ass, bitch. Can't do shit, bitch.
Clubhouse Plus.
Got your ass,
Hey,
bitch.
you know what, Amir, you're absolutely right, brother. I actually wanted to vote for Kamala Harris because I think the day before the election, one of my uncles called me. He said, "Listen, you gotta vote for Kamala. You have a health condition, and Democrats are better when it comes to health law and stuff. Vote for Kamala Harris because Republicans and Trump might get rid of your health benefits, right?" Wallahi, bro, I kind of wish 8 months ago that I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for third party. Literally, I voted for Joe Stein. When I look back, I would have definitely voted for Kamala Harris. But that Gaza thing just was like, you know what, I cannot vote for her because if I do, I am the one that's going to be responsible for the actions that she takes.
Well, you're responsible for what's happened ever since Trump got elected. Congratulations.
I did not vote for Trump, my dear brother, but trust
You
me.
essentially did.
Why are you screaming?
I voted
Why are
for
you
third party.
screaming?
You essentially
I'm not
elected
screaming.
Trump. You essentially helped Trump get
Why are you
elected.
screaming?
That's what. This is why I don't like this whole vote third party thing is so stupid.
I agree with you, bro. Next year, we have an election in Michigan. I'm voting for the Democratic candidate. They haven't declared it yet, but I'm definitely voting for Democrat. Also, Detroit might have a new mayor. I mean, if it's Democrat, whatever, I'm voting for Democrat too, bro. No more. I've never voted for a Republican. My father, ever since he moved here, bro, he has voted for every single Republican candidate. I don't think he voted in this election. I'm not 100% sure, but he has
I
voted
got
for
an
every
anonymous
president
account.
starting
I'm
from Al
fucking
Gore.
with them. I just can't take it
Vice
anymore.
presidents.
And they know I'm live streaming the room, so I'm gonna just disrupt their communications for the next couple days and record and document this piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Supposed blind account starting a multi-million-dollar nonprofit.
Candidate is
This
perfect.
fucking piece of shit.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
We're not talking
When
about
it comes
shit
to
as usual.
most of the stuff, bro, I lean towards Democrat. My only issue is, if I'm being honest with you, it's the whole trans stuff, bro. That's a little bit too crazy.
That's what I'm saying, exactly, and that's why I was telling Amir. He's saying that Gaza is the reason why Kamala lost. I'm like, no, Kamala lost because of all the woke shit. That's why.
That's what Point is saying. That's what Point.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm just saying that the woke stuff is why she lost, not because of.
Tomorrow is the parade and the birthday of President Trump, and many American Republicans who are in the military, retired military, police, and many construction workers are coming to that parade because they say they're not giving up.
It's gonna be very interesting.
Finish. Now, what's wrong? Are you hyperactive? Are you ADHD? What's wrong with you? I'm talking.
I have ADHD, yes.
I can tell. So mute your mic and shut the fuck up. So many of them are coming out to say, restore order with the Supreme Court. We're not allowing democracy to go down the strike? Because remember, he said, yeah, I knew. He did nothing. So Putin knew about Iran, and he did nothing. Now, how does that stack up?
Fuck Iran.
Do you see what's happening here?
Fuck them.
What happened? Were you a little upset?
Oh, yeah, it's tight. Can I finish? There's no food in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, you can finish. There's plenty of food in Tel Aviv. What are you talking about? There's no food in Tel Aviv. What the fuck are you talking about?
They're fucking each other in the butt in the bunker. In the bunker, in the butt. In the bunker, in the butt.
Nobody's fucking anybody in the butt.
Yeah, it's bunker buddies. Bunker buddies.
When I'm hungry, I don't want to fuck. So how are they fucking when they're
Well, why don't you go
They're
there?
not hungry. They're not hungry. What the fuck are you talking about?
Calm down.
You sound upset, my friend.
We're gonna go back to the topic. Go on,
I'm offended by your stupidity.
Hold on, Zach, calm down. The point, are you done? Point, are you done? Point, are you finished?
Point, are you dumb? Are you dumb, Point?
I don't know, man. Why are you gay, Zach? Why are you gay?
You can't even do a fucking accent.
Every time somebody talks about, fucking gay, whatever, same gender, you always fucking run with the mic. Anyways, this shows a lot of support is coming from your side.
Anyways, would you say that you're aligned with Iran? Do you think that Israel should take it easy on Iran?
Israel should not have done this, attack in the first place. So, Israel is responsible for this. It's a self-inflicted attack. If,
You wouldn't say that Iran has been attacking Israel for years by their financial support for Hamas and Hezbollah?
No.
Hezbollah was,
Do you not
hold on, Zach, one point at a time. You can't fucking go on a long monologue. You said Hezbollah did the attack. I want to clarify this.
I didn't go on a monologue. I'm just asking questions.
Hold on. Hezbollah was created in 1982 to fight the Israelis, by the way. They occupied Lebanon. You should look into it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like all these whimsy?
He's
recording the room. He's recording us.
Okay, but who's funding Hezbollah?
Some funding they get it from Iran, some funding from their own local government. They have a lot of their own.
So they get their funding from Iran.
Some.
So Iran is basically. So what about Hamas? Where do they get their funding from?
Hamas, they get funding from all over the place. People send money. Netanyahu funded Hamas.
Does Hamas get any funding from
Do you
Iran?
want it? Do you want the testimony? No, they got funded from Netanyahu.
What about the Houthis? Do you think the Houthis get money from Iran?
Houthis actually build their own hypersonic missiles. They did learn from Iran.
What did they build them out of? What did they build them out of?
They have their own manufacturing facility where they build it.
Do you think?
Even Hamas.
Do you think that Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon if they've been saying for years that as soon as they have a nuclear weapon they're going to destroy Israel? Do you think that's appropriate? Are you done, Amir?
Why are you shouting? Dang, motherfucker, shut up. Holy fucking smokes.
Is it Sam? Sam, come on up.
Are you just going to ignore my question?
Hang on a second.
Stop shouting, bro. You're making my ears hurt. Damn.
I'm not shouting.
Yes, you are, bro. You're making my ears hurt.
Hey, what's up, Royal? Looks like that idiot, what's his name, is recording my room. What's his idiot's name?
The comedy guy.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think.
What do you mean? Why don't you just boot him out?
We can't. He's anonymous.
Oh, that sucks for you.
Actually, what did you say, Royal?
Why do you have a problem with your room being recorded? Why does that bother you that your room is recorded? Why does that bother you?
Okay, let's see this account. Black that account, all the mods, and then you can start your room over.
his accounts.
Wait, he's got the
Wait. Who should I block?
That's your buddy, Zach. You know who that guy is, right? What's his name?
Wait, who should I block?
Hold on, I'll
Who
find
should I block?
He's talking
I'll
about
find
Edmund,
Mr.
Zach.
Oh, who should I? Okay, but how do we block?
You
Fucking
can.
know, like,
Oh, you can't. Oh, another win for Edmund.
he's a low life.
But he's not fucking. At least he's not a 72-year-old fucking incel who's obsessed with hating the Jews and supporting the bloodthirsty genocide of the Jewish.
Oh my
At least
god.
he knows, hold on, at least he knows what a vagina looks like.
I know what your mother's vagina looks like.
You know, that's a difference between you and
I
that
love
person.
how every time I start to